I've been recording, so I might
All
take
right.
those little snippets. But
So
go
we're
ahead.
live on my end as well.
Perfect. Well, this will be focused for your video, so why don't you go ahead and do an intro, and then I'll jokingly do my intro as well.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm here with Pokemon Radar today, uh, which is exciting. I actually first I so I've seen your name on my channel a little bit, and I've heard about you a little bit through other people. But what I didn't remember is I actually saw you. I watched a while ago. I watched your video of pulling that like first edition Charizard, that got
Mhm.
a lot of hits, and then I like made the connection. Oh, it's the same guy who was in that video, which was fun to me. So yeah, so I'm happy to have a chance to talk to you. I think we sort of decided that we both wanted to talk with each other and have each other on
Mhm.
each other's channels. So it seems like we've decided, at least for this point, to just kind of do one video where we're going to talk about a range of things, or both of us are maybe going to ask each other questions, and
Yeah,
it'll be on both of our channels for both of our
yeah,
audience at the same time.
yeah. So, welcome back, guys, to another episode of Collectors with Cards Drinking Coffee. And I've got a water. You've got coffee. I should have had coffee ready. Today is a water day for me for some reason. But we have Jake from Pokenomics doing a little collab video here today. Be sure to have both of our videos up at the same time so we both get the views and watch it in sync. But yeah, like you said, I've been watching your stuff for a while. I started this podcast thing earlier this year, just randomly, right? And it got pretty good feedback from like the E4 community and all that. And then I stopped, and then I started seeing a bunch of other similar video types pick up, and yours was the one I leaned towards because I liked what you were talking about. I liked your information. I didn't know that you were connected to, or like a part of E4. I didn't know you were in there. I didn't recognize your name, but yeah, I watched all your videos early on, and then as I got back into doing my own podcast, I've run out of time to watch everybody's videos. But yours is still one I check in on every now and then because you guys provide some pretty great information on the market. So yeah, what's up?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so I was on E4 for a while, but I was definitely a lurker for like a year and didn't
Hmm.
ever engage in any of the conversations. I was just sort of interested. I was trying to just basically absorb as much information as possible from people and figure out who were the people in the hobby who had
Hmm.
the biggest collections, had a lot of the knowledge, that sort of thing, and just try to learn from them as much as possible by reading what they wrote. Yeah, and then when Rafi and I decided to start this channel, E4 was definitely helpful because it was a community that I had made some connections within that community, but also it was a place where I knew there were a lot of Pokemon collectors there, so I was able to share some of my early videos there, and I think that helps really start the channel and get some,
Hmm.
core subscribers or core people interested in that type of Pokemon talk where we did deep dives and really analyzing the market, not just saying like here are the top 5 things you should buy, but going more
Right.
into what am I hearing behind the scenes? What are people talking about this card specifically? These types of sets. What do we think the print run is? The population. How much do we think is still sealed out there? All the important supply and demand uh, type speculation with as much information as I could possibly gather from as many sources as possible. And I felt like that sort of transparent thing was missing from the Pokemon space
Hmm.
in a lot of ways, at least from the videos that I was seeing. And now there's a lot more of it. I think when I started my channel,
Yeah.
there was I think more of a need for my channel than there is now. Although I still think that to be completely honest, but I still think that there's we provide good stuff, and and both Rafi and I really care about the people who watch, and so we're very focused on we're not business, we're not in this to make money or for a business or anything. So it
Hmm.
in some ways frees us up to focus on like, okay, what is the best quality information that's going to help people meet their collection goals, track down that trophy card that they really want, that sort of thing. So what got you into starting your going down the podcast route or having conversation route, maybe instead of doing more of those I'm going to talk to camera and tell you what you should do type videos?
Yeah, no, I was similar getting into E4 as well. I mean, I think everybody is kind of a lurker and taking in as much information as possible, right? And for me, I first focused on and I, even outside of Pokemon, I dive in hard into like weird historic aspects of how things are done or what has happened in people's lives and how they got to the point of where they're at. So, at first it started with just scouring through E4 to find the history, all the history I could on Pokemon cards itself, print runs, like you said, discovering trophy cards, discovering these crazy releases, promos, everything that I could take in historically, I really enjoyed. And I got to the point where I took all that in.
Yeah.
A lot of it's arbitrary. We don't actually know. WotC never released numbers. And I felt like I hit a wall and couldn't go any further with it. So I said, okay, what's the next historic thing that I could kind of chase and discover? And that was the collectors themselves. Because, I've talked about this before where Gem Mint Pokemon was like the guy that really got me into the hobby YouTube wise. And then also just like helping me out with building my collection, because I was buying and selling to him constantly, like just flipping just as much as I do now. But it freed up a lot of money and let me build quick personal collection too. So I just hit the
lovely guy. He's such a personal, such a caring guy who's like all about helping, anyone who he comes into contact with, just like the greatest guy.
Yeah, absolutely incredible, and you'll get that a lot from a lot of these big time collectors that you kind of treat as pseudo celebrities, right? I mean, at this point, they're above that. Rev has so many people in his DMs he can't answer them. TCA, SM Pratt, they can't respond anymore. But back then in 2015, 16, they were able to respond. They were, they had a following, but they had free time. Now they just don't. So. I fell into place with building these relationships. It's something that I've always been good at and truly enjoy is relationships. That's my true passion, I guess, is getting to know people and building organic, genuine relationships. So, I'm friends with everybody at this point, and it's really great that I get to have them on my platform and get to share their story and kind of understand the history of collecting Pokemon cards. So that's the whole drive behind my podcast.
I think that's I really resonate with that. Like when I first started my channel, you can a decent amount of my early videos, we sort of did every other one, I believe, for a while. Was sort of Rafi and I having conversation about Pokemon, but then trying to bring someone on like Rusty from TCA Gaming and these different I don't know if you've seen our interviews, but we've done a lot of interviews also. And I think that I just wanted to provide the audience kind of more insight onto into these people, into their thought process for people. These are people who have a lot of experience, skill, expertise, connections within the hobby. And I wanted to both learn from them, but also, expose more people to them in sort of a different format than what they might get. Some of these people obviously have channels and they hear from them a lot on their channels, but I think that if you ask them certain personal questions or specific questions about something that you hadn't heard them talk about on their channel, it can provide value there. So I and as a personal goal, I wanted to have them all sort of like a lot of the people I really respected and admired and look up to sort of interviewed kind of in a, and you may feel this way too, but it's like, it's something that like I feel like I accomplished, like Rafi and I accomplished, which was spending the time tracking down, engaging, and interviewing all these like great Pokemon people during what I thought was a very important, crucial, kind of crazy time in the hobby, and I think will be a
Hmm.
historic time in the hobby. And to hear what they have to say about it, sort of as it's unfolding, type of thing.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of selfish intent on my end of wanting to just sit down and talk with these guys, pick their brains, but also have create this content that I can look back on and remember this moment from, in the future. Like just like you said, it is a crazy time. I mean, I can even go back now a little bit to my podcast earlier in the year, and just before the whole boom here, and yeah, it's just amazing how quickly it changed. So it's nice to start getting timestamps on Pokemon collecting, so we can look back and have more knowledge out there for people who keep on joining the hobby, because it's going to continue growing and growing. So the more information we can get out, the safer I think we'll be
Yeah.
from any excessive ups and downs, if people are willing to take the time to learn.
Yeah, and I think it'll be so interesting to look back at these videos. I'm with you. I love history. I love the history of the hobby, the history of the people in the hobby, hearing about the stories, of the cards, but also the people. And so this will be part of that too. This
Yeah.
period in these YouTube channels, and it'll be interesting to look back, 5, 6, 10 years on these things on the internet, and see, how how right, how wrong people were, how much of a sense we had it. And I think that's the best way to learn, is by actually doing things, sharing opinions, and then reflecting on them later, type of thing.
Hmm. Yeah. So before we got or started recording, we started talking about most of the other things outside of Pokemon, but I think we should talk about Pokemon first.
Sure.
Um, what what's kind of your general structure here with your talks? Do you want to talk more about what's happening now? You want to get a little bit of history in from myself? I want to be sure that we go back and forth here.
Yeah. Well, do you have a I mean, I can ask a couple questions for you. You can ask them back to me if you'd like. I mean, I think the big news right now, and maybe we can just start with this, is the potential sort of retraces we're seeing and trying to make sense of what's happening right now. And
Hmm.
I'd be interesting to get your perspective on that. My feeling is generally that uh, I don't know what was shillbit and what wasn't in a lot of this stuff. So when I see big prices going down, part of me is also like, maybe the other prices were never, or they weren't that deep for that, and really this was, most of the market was at this. I think there's an
Hmm.
interesting. It's interesting how quick people jump to conclusions when a new card is sold at a really high price, that is now the new price, and then when a card is sold at a lower price, that is now the lower price. And I think it has to do with how emotional and unstable the market is, and the fact that these are all such new prices that there isn't like a uh, you can ask anyone and they wouldn't be confident in what I
Yeah.
should offer for a card right now, or like like what is a fair value right now for things. It's just very challenging. So what is your feeling? But that being said, there does seem to be a trend right now across early vintage WotC, to start there, where we're seeing 30 to 50 to 60% retraces for a number of cards, not all cards. Other cards are setting new high prices, like the Lugia PSA 10 first edition. So there's interesting things happening. But what's your take on all of that? And then as a person who's a business, I guess
Hmm.
a follow-up question off of that would be, how are you managing to sell and be liquid in this sort of, what I think is a very difficult environment to transact and do business in because of the chaos? And what's that sort of
Hmm.
process like?
Yeah. Well, there's so many things to look at, and with the amount of quantity of activity happening on eBay, it's really hard to keep track or spend the time keeping track of what was real, what was shilled, and all that. Um, I mean, just looking back at it, watching base set, sealed boxes, and Charizards, there was a solid, growth line that you saw sales hitting, new marks over and over and over. So, to me, at least for those, things were actually happening. Things were actually selling. People were paying for it. And it got to the point where I think just a simple supply and demand took an effect. These prices kept going up like crazy. I mean, myself, once a PSA 8 Charizard hit $1,000, I listed all of mine. Once PSA 9 hit $4,000, I listed all of mine, unlimited Charizards. And, to me, it was just a stupid amount of money for those cards. And I was more than happy to take that $4,000 on a PSA 9. Even I remember having this conversation with a friend. I said, hey, you should sell your PSA 9 Charizards at $4,000. I'm selling mine. It'll probably be $5,000 tomorrow, but just sell them. And I was right. I sold them for $4,000. The next day they were $5,000 because there was just this constant battle of who wants to pay more for the next card. And, you got up to $7,000 and it shot back down to $2,000 a couple days later. So there's so many different factors of understanding. I don't know who's doing all the analytics behind the scenes and writing the programs to keep track of all that stuff, because I don't have the time to do that. I don't have the know how to do that. But I just think we got a exorbitant amount of interest in the hobby from Logan Paul, from other celebrities. Like, they truly had a impact on Pokemon. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. And a bunch of uneducated people came into the hobby. They didn't spend the time to look at price history, and they had a fear of missing out, and they just bought. And it got to the point where people just were unloading because it was the best time to sell. And now we're starting to see the people that bought at the high points probably leverage themselves, have to dump, typical economics. There's so many different nuances we can talk about within that too. I know you guys talked about like the PSA 10 first edition EVs and that stuff, like these uncommons, these commons that are soaring. It's so it's tough. There's so many things to go about it. You can take a conversation anyway, but PSA is slow, so there's a lack of availability for certain cards that will just be flooded in the market at some point in the next year or two whenever people get their submissions back. It's you talk about it all the time. It's the more knowledge that you have, the better you're going to be off. And I think there's enough of us talking about all this and enough of people listening that the market is finally starting to cool down, and people are not buying at those ridiculous prices anymore for extremely common cards. But as a seller, I look back at my sales all the time and just talk about regret. People always say, I give myself a hard time about it, but like in any industry, any investment, you need to buy and sell at all periods. You can't wait for that perfect time. I mean, if you're buying day trading stocks, you have to buy and sell. You can't just sit on cash. So as a business, you have to move capital. You have to clear up cash. And for me, specifically, like I sold base set boxes at $4,000 in January. I sold a 9.5 first edition base set Charizard for 12. Those are 25 grand. That Charizard's 125 grand. I missed out on a ton of money. But I consciously recognized certain areas in the market that I wanted to put money in, and it's done well. Like I moved all that money into Japanese trophies. Nice solid growth there, more stable, less of a bubble type effect. So as a business, as an investor, a collector, I was at least able to recognize certain areas to funnel that money into to protect myself. Because I saw the same things that we saw with unlimited PSA 10 Charmanders and all this stuff, all these set cards just skyrocketing for no reason. And to me, the rarer, the scarcer, the minter, the better. Our SM Pratisms. I've just followed that. So, it's people are still buying. I'm able to sell. It's not a big deal. I got a little bit of everything: sealed product, Japanese cards, PSA, CGC, Beckett, anything and everything I have listed. So it hasn't been slow for me. It's been perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah.
things are still as because what I've been hearing from some people is that things were getting like binned right away for a while, and now there's a lot more like people contacting you trying to negotiate prices down from certain sellers that I know, and that the franticness and the tone of the buyers on average has shifted over the past month or so. Are you seeing that too as a seller?
Yeah, 100%.
People are still
kind of missed out.
Not like it's completely dropped out. People are very interested, but they're more, they know more, they're more patient. There isn't the franticness.
Well, and prices got so high that it was difficult for people to enter in the hobby and just click buy it now. It was, it's a lot of money being thrown around for a lot of different cards, and people finally got smarter. So, I mean, as a seller, again, I just recently started doing this full time as a business, and I mean, I have a huge backup of inventory that I got created at CGC, at PSA, and my cost average is extremely low. So to me, I understand what the true value is of my cards. I know what my cost is into it, and I will take significantly lower than what other people will just sit on it for and wait, because I need to clear that capital. I need to move things.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm dumping things, but I'm taking a fair market price. A lot of people are still asking that 2 month in the future price because of how the market's been going crazy. I'm okay with taking today's market and moving on.
I think one of the key points that I was talking about on my channel a lot is to try to differentiate the different players in the market and their effect on the market. And so you have people who their cash flow comes from selling Pokemon cards. So in order to buy new Pokemon cards, they need to sell Pokemon cards, and they're someone like you, it sounds like your business model is built around, margins. So buying low, selling high, basically, and there are certain things that you probably have a plan to hold for a very long time, or you have a price and a long-term goal for the price you're looking for. And then you have other items that are probably a lot more common that you're looking to buy a lot of and maybe not make as big of a margin on, but turn them over quite quickly. And
a lot of strategy involved.
And I think that, so you have that type of thing going on in the market, and you have businesses who need to sell more than other businesses depending on the amount of cash that they have, and do they have other work that's supporting their lifestyle, those sorts of things. And then you have people like me who I don't ever need to sell because my cash flow doesn't come from Pokemon, it comes from my job outside of Pokemon and my dividends and stocks and other sorts of things. And so there's that part of the market. And then there's then I think that there are a bunch of new people who came in who are leveraging themselves on credit, trying to basically get rich quick and double and triple their money quickly in a very short amount of time in the market as well. And so I think that you had increases in all three of all three of those categories always existed, but all three of them increased. You had people who rediscovered their love for Pokemon, who are the exact same as me, who have cash flow coming in from other places and were able to spend a lot of money on cards that they wanted to hold in their collections. You had new businesses starting that were sophisticated and were trying to build for the long run, like someone like you. And then you had people come in who were really, it was a I'm going to do this for a few months maybe, or 6 months or whatever, and I'm going to try to make as much of a killing or as much money as I possibly can, all affecting the market at once. And I think that so much of my concern about the stability in prices was the lack of like awareness, in my opinion, that that was happening, and that all three of those things were happening, and this feeling that it was just being driven up by collectors the entire time, and that no one would ever
Right.
sell a card lower than, and I was getting this stuff on a daily basis and hearing this stuff out there a lot, and that's what made me sure that we would not we wouldn't even need new supply to have a correction.
Mhm.
'Cause I don't even think the new supply has hit the market, or a lot of the PSA supply in the backlog that's going to hit the market from that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all levels out. As a business, are you worried? Are you anxious about it? What do you think? What do you think the staying power of Pokemon is going to be? You think a lot of people are going to have a bad experience right now and leave the hobby? It's all speculation, but what are your feelings?
Yeah, it's definitely worrisome. I've thankfully, before taking this leap, positioned myself to be okay if something like that does happen for a certain amount of time. And again, I put a hefty amount of the, I guess, inventory into these Japanese trophy cards, these truly rare cards that aren't going to be affected as badly as the general business that you'll see out there. Vintage set cards, I'm not buying. I'm not touching those things. I'll buy sealed products still. I think sealed product is always going to be doing all right. We've seen a little bit of a retrace there, but at the rate that those things are being open now, the more breakers coming out, myself finally doing some more breaks, but the amount is just dwindling, and the price will just continue to go up on those steadily. I always treat sealed product as the mutual funds, the ETFs. That's the safe investment on my end with Pokemon. I'm more than happy to throw money in there every now and then, but buying PSA set WotC scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I'm paying attention to little market things here and there. Like I picked up some gold stars because
Yep.
I see some hype being driven behind there, and the Neo sets are definitely going to come around and have a similar, I think, graph that base set and Jungle and Fossil did. So
Although the
we
Neos outperformed base set before. So what's interesting is that the way it happened, the way it moved, was that Neo, before the COVID period, had a humongous spike. And base set first edition didn't move at all for years. In fact, it went down, particularly your rares and commons and uncommons. So if you actually look, one of the big misunderstanding of the data right now going around is that base set was the best buy from a few years ago. And in fact, base set was one of the worst buys, particularly base set first edition, including the base set first edition Charizard. Although that card has done very well, but a 6 times gain is very, very, very low compared to any of the Neo Genesis PSA 10s that you could have bought. Or some of the gold stars, or so there's this, it's interesting. And I think a lot of that has to do with clearly rarity, scarcity, of those cards, and that people wanted to complete them. But also, base set first edition was just always so much more expensive. So there just aren't as many people who can buy the $400,000 card as the $10,000 card. Much, much bigger market for a $10,000 card. So it could push it up a lot more. And there's less of that card. So the market cap on absorbing 121 $400,000 cards versus 15 of a $10,000 card. This is much, much easier for a market to absorb and push that up. So these were all things that I was thinking about and talking about when I got into the hobby early. Not that early, but 3 years ago at a very lucky good time compared to now. But I bring it up because I think it's interesting. One thing I think we're sorely missing, and I think you sort of pointed to this earlier or brought it up, is like we need a place that tracks this for all of us that we pay $20 a month. That's amazing, so that we don't have to hold this information in our heads. I mean, and I know some people working on it, and we'll see how good it is. And if it's good, I will certainly promote them free of charge, type of thing. But these narratives and these stories get crafted around what's moved up the most, what's been the best buy, this or that, and it's extremely misleading and extremely incomplete. Trophy cards have not moved up very much at all compared to certain cards have moved up quite a bit, like the Master Scroll has been an unbelievable winner the last couple of years. But which isn't, in my opinion, a true trophy card. That's another thing, though.
I just got one. I just got one.
But that's like a faux trophy card. If we're gonna call the fan club card trophies too, then that's you do. But
it's the top of the fan club, Daisuke Club. It's the number one.
It's the rarest. It's the rarest. That's for sure. We do know that. But
that's how trophy cards will always be, because of the lack of sales data, the lack of awareness, and the lack of availability. It's just always going to be a slow mover in comparison to anything like that. And like you said, just the simple fact of the price point going up 10x is a lot more difficult for a $10,000 card than it is for a dollar card. So
yes.
Percentage wise, I think trophies will always lack behind everyone else, which I'm completely okay with. I mean, I don't want those cards to go up to $1 million yet, because I still have a few I need to buy.
There's a stability.
Of course, I'm flipping some, but I'm also buying some to keep. Yeah.
Like why I'm so attracted to them, and I've been advising my whole audience to basically move their money from anything. If they really want to invest, basically do exactly what you did, which is sell first all of your unlimited hollows immediately a month ago. That was the clearest, most ridiculous, thing, particularly your non-10s, because the 10s are actually very difficult to get. And there just aren't going to be a lot more of them, open up out of packs, because the booster boxes are so expensive. But the trophies, the thing about the trophies, and this also was why I speculated so much on the fact that there were just so many new people that just seemed to have so much exuberance and so much money for set cards. And it was so weird. Like, it's hard for me to get into the mindset of, like, you jump into a hobby and you spend $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 on things you didn't know existed like 3 weeks earlier. It's this really interesting thing, but I really believe that's how irrational and immature the market was. And instead of doing research on the trophies and realizing
and still is
and history, and realizing the rarity and history of the trophies, people were hearing from influencers and hearing from other people, and there was an echo chamber that the cards that the best cards to get were like the PSA 10 first edition hollows from base set, when I don't know a single collector who's been in it as long as even me, truthfully, who would prefer those cards to the trophies, because they get boring. I mean, they're very common. You can get them at lower grades very easily. And the trophy cards are once in a lifetime type items that most of them you'll never see.
Right.
And I think that for people who really love the history and are going to be here the long term, they're all going to want those cards, and there aren't enough of them to go around. So I think in the long run, those cards are going to be the ones that not only are the most stable because of that, they just will not. It's be so difficult for any of them to retrace, I think, because the people who own them have money, and they love them so much. They're so connected. They're so special. They're so unique. And they're just
the people that have them now. A lot of them are collectors, and the money that they have most kind of came from Pokemon. So when they sell it at these crazy prices that they deserve, they're not going to buy them back. Yeah, they're not CEOs. They don't, a lot of them aren't CEOs or have, their own business that they sold for $10 million to spend that type of money on a Pokemon card, because it's not coming in like that every year. They don't have a salary like that. They built there's a few of them that could buy and sell, but like myself, my Trophy Kang, if I sold that thing, I'll never get another one. Never. But yeah, we both had Gotta Catch 'Em All on our shows here, and
Yeah.
Dan, and he really put that in perspective for me
Mm.
when he said, like, I think I had just bought the Play Promo Umbreon for 20 grand, which I already sold, but I had that. And he was like, would you rather spend 20 grand on that, or would you have 20 first edition PSA 10 EVs? And it's the clearest answer to anybody in the hobby what to pick. So
Yeah,
I think there was a correction for both ways that they had to go, and I may have pushed that Umbreon up a little bit with the sale I made, but yeah, the EVs were definitely very deserving to move down.
Yeah, the play promos are interesting because they're so rare, but they're reprints of they have the same English art, the same art as the English Gold Stars, even though the English Gold Stars are extremely hard to.
Well, the Umbreon and Espeon are hollows.
That's true.
The English ones are not.
That is a great point.
So that just those two specifically sets them apart.
Yeah.
And of course the availability of them, because you have the Play Promo Jolteon, Vaporeon, Flareon as well, but those are holographic in English.
Yes, they're holographic
because they came from the
from
sets.
the Power Keepers.
Yeah. So that's one thing that really, thankfully, sets those two cards apart. Which
very true.
Speaking of trophy cards, there's so many, and I listened to your last one about the Unicarp. I feel the exact same way that you do. I've always felt the same way. It's like it's a non-holo. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that I really like non-holo cards too. Like I'm not a complete just sort of like the holo, for me, a beautiful art and unique art is important too. But the issue with that card is, for me, the really big issue is the the fact that the web series card, the fact that card is just, there's endless amounts of that card and of that art. And I think that for me with those play promos, the reason I never bought them, even though they're the holo, and again, these are just opinions, was because just the holo difference didn't make enough of a difference to me. I think you had better options. That being said, the play promo set is so amazing that as a completionist, it's like you want all of them to complete that whole set, with all the amazing. I mean, some of those holos are there are a lot of them, like the Ho-Oh and the Lugia EX cards from that, which are very underrated arts. Like the Mew is really hyped up, and it's a great card. But I actually prefer. I think the Lugia and the Ho-Oh are equally amazing cards. And now, of course, they're not as rare. They were lower, much easier to get. There are more of them, but it's just interesting what people coalesce around. And so my big investment strategy to people is to learn as much as you can, and then figure out what doesn't make sense to you, basically, and to really invest long term in what you really believe in has the objective value principles that you think are going to withstand the ups and downs of the influencers, the ups and downs of what people are saying, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Now, let me to touch more on that Umbreon. And full disclosure, I just bought an Espeon. So to me, it was just a no-brainer. And honestly, I probably made the wrong decision flipping it. I think long-term, those two cards are going to do incredible. Because, I mean, there are cult collectors for Evolutions. And again, the true rarity or scarcity of those cards is very evident in the PSA Pop Report and just availability and recent sales.
I mean, even the other three don't come up too much, and those two are dramatically rarer and harder to come by generally.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's this other echelon of
but you needed quite a bit more points to get the fourth and fifth.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I still haven't done the math on how to get like how many events you had to go to,
I
but
know. It was a lot.
it's stupid.
Yeah.
But there's
I
this
did it at one
echelon
point
of
to try and estimate how many people or kids I thought would have done that. It's like, how can we estimate how many of these we think are distributed or out there realistically?
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty it's crazy. I mean, I think there was like a 4 or 5 year period where you could do it, maybe 3, I forget.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just like that's the most expensive card of that Pokemon. So it's a trophy card in so many people's eyes.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Yeah, it was just a no-brainer to me. So I went all in on it.
Yeah. I mean, if that card for me didn't have the English version with the same art,
Hmm.
it would be, yeah, like
Yeah.
such a top card. And even without it, those were cards I was interested in picking up and did think about picking up a number of times. I was able to pick up 2 of the other ones I don't even remember, just raw, and grade them myself for like as part of a really cheap big collection. It was probably the best buy I ever had. It was this insane auction that, I bought for like $3,000, and even at the time it was probably worth like 30,000. Like this auction that I bought after I graded everything. So it was like a 10
From where?
just on eBay, just some random person on eBay.
What else was in there? How was this 30K?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was insane. So I think it had about 15 gold stars that all came back Gem Mint 10 or 9s and 10s, mostly 10, all Japanese. And that was on the 4th page. So that was wasn't the selling point of the auction. They were just like thrown in there. And I didn't know that they were going to be all Gem Mint. It had a complete play pro. It had 1.5, I think, complete play set, the play promo sets of everything outside of the Gold Star dogs. It had 2 Gold Star dogs. I forget which one, but not the Espeon or Umbreon. It had, I think, 50 or 60 PSA cards, and it had the highest graded in the world of the. See if I can remember the exact set names. It's from. In English, they're reverse holo secret rares of the shiny Pokemon from the level X period. If you remember in those packs, you could pull these shiny cards as sort of secret rares. And in Japanese, they had them, instead of the reverse holos, which I think look kind of ugly, they had kind of a holo star pattern on them. The most famous one is probably the Ponyta, which goes for quite a lot of money. But there were about 25 of them or so graded in PSA 10. And these were cards that were only 2 or 3 in the world graded at PSA 10 at that time. And they're actually, of course, when there's only a few things graded, the first thought is nobody wants them, and that's why no one's grading them. And that's certainly true for most cards, and something I preach a lot on the channel. But in this case, I actually really believe that they are extremely hard to grade, extremely rare and scarce. And those cards are actually going, even at the time, were going for $300. They weren't selling that much. And now they're probably, some of them the only PSA 10 in the world of a couple of those cards from that set.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then it had about 20 or 30 PSA 10 of the Shining Legends. And then it had another 60 or 70 ungraded, which all came back. I graded them all. They all came back 10s, 9, almost all 10s. And then
This was on eBay USA?
eBay USA. Yeah. eBay USA.
Wow.
Yep. And then the last page, it was about another 100 or so regular Japanese holos from just like Nintendo EX original era, and I graded all of those, and those all are 10s, mostly.
Jeez.
And so it was just an insane purchase, and I've held it. I haven't sold any of it.
Wow.
So yeah, I got that purchase, and then my other amazing purchase is a first edition. I bought about
From Heritage.
500. So that was my good recent purchase. But my other really good purchase was I bought for about $1,500 in auction. I bought about 500 first edition base set cards or so, and tons of a number of starters, and a lot of them came back 10s.
Wow.
when I sent them in, and
Did you
and
sell
then
or hold those?
I sold a bunch. Yeah. I didn't sell everything. I try to keep the
Mhm.
tens, but honestly, I was so tempted to sell at the 10 prices because I thought the 10 prices just got ridiculous for like the Charmander and things like that. But
They're kind of holding, right?
they are.
Yeah.
Interestingly, they are holding so far. So I think that that goes to the fact that that I guess people who own them are less flipping
Yeah.
types who bought them, and that a lot of the base set first edition product has already, that's really gem mint has already been open and graded. So there hasn't been as
Mhm.
many express, people were grading a lot of like express cards and then flooding the market with them. And maybe that
Right.
didn't
And the
happen.
numbers aren't crazy high in 10. There's hundreds, and there's definitely
700
more
maybe.
than,
Is that
yeah,
quite?
there's definitely that many people that would want a 10. So, and
There are
and
a lot
opening a
less.
box,
There are a lot more of those than like the EV PSA 10 right now. Now there will be
yeah,
more
but they'll,
the 10 EVs.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
But
yeah,
interestingly,
and a lot less will be graded because I mean you get
yeah,
a few of them in a box, right? And they're not all gonna be 10s. They might be 10s. So the next person that opens a box, he might add 3 Charmanders to the PSA 10 pop report.
yeah,
But in Jungle, it's like, oh, I pulled 8 from this box, and then all the ones that people have been sitting on forever.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean it makes sense to me that those are holding. They are super high, but
yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Touching on
surprised they're holding,
those,
but they make more sense than the
yeah,
unlimited for sure, and the first edition from the other sets. But
hmm
I do, to be honest, I do think that those are being guard. I think that some really smart people have a lot of them, and I
yeah,
think that they are controlling the fact that prices aren't coming down and are smarter with them and are slowly selling them, if at all, to keep the prices high
hmm
because they have a huge amount of them. Whereas and when I was watching it very closely, the way they were bought up, the way it moved up, there's just a buyout feel to a lot of
yeah,
things. And I also know some people who own quite a few, and they're just very patient. They're very smart. They're not going to flood the market. And I think that,
right,
yeah, the unlimited Charizard was such an example of like it just wasn't being bought and sold by I think a lot of people who had been in the hobby a long time and had a lot of like patience and knowledge of like how to get the most from their cards, that sort of thing. Again,
yeah,
I
yeah.
could, that was my feeling.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think for vintage bulk like that, there is a small enough number of people that have a large percentage, so it will be slowly absorbed over the next 40 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, However, for modern, there's a lot of people taking huge positions in those cards to slowly put into the market. So that's going to be a little different. It'll be flooded because of the amount of people doing that.
Yeah.
I sit in a Discord chat and literally every single person in that chat is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like we all have hundreds of the illustration Charizard promo that came out or whatever new Pikachu promo that came out.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people building these modern positions that I don't think we'll see as it won't be the same in the future, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean that stuff is absolutely collapsible. Like it wouldn't shock me at all if you couldn't sell some of these modern booster boxes for retail in
Mhm.
20 years. And that is so different than the mindset that everyone has. That's what scares me. The fact that people aren't taking that into account is the type of bullishness and the type of bubble mania thinking that scares me, because that happens to hobbies all the time. That's a common thing, is that there are periods where there's a lot of heat, the product gets printed a lot more than any other period, and rather than being opened, people are hoarding it and sitting on it waiting to sell it 20 years down the line, and then there aren't a lot of people. Ooh, Harry Potter.
Like this one right here. This is like well, I think these are up to $100 now, but
Yeah, there are so many of those in the world. Like
$25 you could buy those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought a booster
So-
case at I think I bought 1.5 booster cases at $26. Or I think there was a sale at Hillside, and I was like, well, like
Mhm.
these are clearly worth more than Like anything in Pokemon going for
Yeah.
$25 right now. But
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what happens with boxes if they'll ever go under that $100 mark again, or whatever retail is.
you see that with
Um,
sports.
yeah, I bought. I tried to get into sports a little bit, and it was just stagnant money, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
yeah, sports is a little different though. They produce so many sets each year of the same content, basically. So it's a little tricky, a little different. But
And the different makers. It adds
well,
more
it's
product into the
yeah.
market.
I mean, in that world, people are very well aware of which makers for which sports. Like basketball is
Yeah.
Panini, um, football is Panini, baseball is typically Bowman, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of Topps product that people love. Um, so all the like Don Russ and Optic and other stuff like that, does fine, but when it comes out, but goes down pretty quick moving forward. So
I think part
um,
of what crashed the 90s though was because there wasn't that then as much, and there was
mhm.
so much of every. It was such there was such mania that so like everyone was collecting like everything. Like when I like look at my old basketball cards, I have like Z Score, like Upper Deck. I have
Oh
like
yeah, I remember
5,
Z scores. Yeah.
7, 8, right, different brands. And a similar
Yeah.
thing happened with comics, where there were all these alternate arts and all these different like variations of covers, like over and over from different people from different groups. And I think
Hmm.
that what Pokemon can really do to protect that is the fact that they just own it, and that they're very careful with not printing a lot of other types of Pokemon light type card product. Do you
Hmm.
disagree with that?
Well, let me state first that I think Pokemon's doing an incredible job right now with meeting collector needs as well as the player needs. Um, but just the selfishness of me, I really, really want a numbered top set to come out of Pokemon. And I know that will just be strictly just pushed like crazy as a insane collectible, one of one Charizard or whatever, refractors and all that. It would just be so much fun to try to collect. It'll never happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you that Pokemon is so tight with their IP
Yeah.
that they are protecting themselves pretty well in that aspect.
Yeah, it's just going to make it. Although what I tell people is that you have to think that all of these sets are going to be competing with each other for
Hmm.
money in the future, and there are going to be so many more sets, and they're going to be competing with the modern sets. So are people going to want to be paying $500, $600 for a box, or are they just going to buy the new modern set at $80? People who think their boxes are going to go
Right.
up that much, and so it's like you have to understand what is going to differentiate these things from like the
Hmm.
crazy new shiny whatever thing that they're doing in 10,
Yeah.
20 years from now. And that's just a pattern we've seen in lots of other card collectibles. We were talking about Dragon Ball Z. We were talking about Panini. It's like you see
Yeah.
like things can suddenly shift, and everyone thinks they're a genius when they're making money.
Yeah.
but but really like these markets can be very fickle, and when you have lots and lots of people starting all these you know LGSs, applying for distribution, like all this stuff going on right now, it's going to need there's
Hmm.
going to need to be like a huge sustained demand. Now Pokemon may deliver and
Yeah.
keep the print quantity low enough that it maintains that balance between like bringing new collectors in, so the scalpers aren't taking all the boxes from the kids, but not
Right.
like flooding it too much that it like kills the secondary market. It'll be interesting, and that's all like I think anyone's guess.
Right. And I talked to PokeRiff about this. I'm having
Yeah.
a podcast come out here soon with him, but I still have yet to get my distribution license. I'm scared to, because I don't know how heavily I would dive into that. And I do so well with vintage, and I understand it so much better of where to make money that it's hard to allocate money anywhere else. But I think modern is super strong, and it will continue to be strong. But what do we really know about the limitations on on printing and logistics. You know, with the amount of people that are applying to be distributors, individuals, I know some distributors have kind of stopped taking applications. But once this whole lockdown stuff is over and we're back to whatever normal is, and people are putting in these stupid orders because they know they're getting allocated, will Pokemon meet those ridiculous orders, and will people be able to survive? Like, people are putting in 1,000 case orders for whatever new set that comes out. What if Pokemon was somehow able to meet that demand once all of this cleared up,
Mm-hmm.
and those people have to pay for 1,000 cases and they can't sell them because there's so much of it?
Yep.
So that's one thing that scares me, that I don't really know. I don't know what's going on with their manufacturing, their print lines and logistics, if it actually is slow. But that's just one concern that I have.
That I've talked to. And there's also a lot of frustration from LGS owners that I've spoken to about not getting product, and Walmart getting, like MJ Holding giving it to the big box chains, obviously that they have these amazingly huge contracts, and that they go through there, but they don't have any product for, your local game stores, and these sorts of things are a lot less. And obviously they don't sell the booster boxes. They don't sell in Walmart, but with like the Elite Trainer boxes and these sorts of things where a lot of the product gets distributed.
Right.
But it's creating these weird environments where like it's just prime for scalpers, because there's this bottleneck that it's like forcibly being sold low at Walmart. And that's hurting like everyone except for the scalpers who randomly show up and get there in time and grab a ton and then flip it, for a lot.
Well, there's a lot of cahoots going on there. People paying off the stock people to give them all the stuff too. So it's a tough situation, and those distributors can't give up their contracts with the big box stores because they need them. They'll be around forever.
Yeah.
Versus the little guys. But segueing in the Dragon Ball Z, because I really want to talk about Dragon Ball Z.
Me too.
The whole Panini, that whole Panini era of Dragon Ball Z was really unknown to me, but I remember finding Dragon Ball Z on the shelves at Target, and I bought some, opened it, and realized that the cards were basically reprints of the Score sagas or print runs back in the early 2000s, which I collected as a kid. Now, Pokemon Radar, this is Dragon Ball Radar. That's where the logo came from. Like, Dragon Ball Z is my number one thing. I love it more than Pokemon. Like, I still rewatch episodes. Like, people rewatch The Office. I rewatch Dragon Ball Z. I love it. And so I discovered the Panini series sets, and I just felt like collecting, opening, having fun because it was cheap, putting together binder sets. So I was buying cases to get the ultra rares and try to do whole like reverse foil or foil sets, and then selling off extras. And I was able to keep costs fairly low. And then one day they released the like Cell Saga set, basically from back in the day. This is the old one. And I was like, all right, I'm buying two cases of this.
Perfection.
Huh?
Perfection. That's the
Perfection.
The one.
Yeah. And there was a ultra rare of like Goku and Gohan doing the Kamehameha, and I was like, all right, I'm buying two cases, and I'm going to sit on them. And then when that came out, that card actually started selling for like $250, $300. So I was like, okay, I'm going to find as many as possible and sell them.
Crazy.
And I did that.
Yeah.
Made most of my money back. Pretty much finished the set, and then it just randomly completely died.
Yeah.
DA Card World was dumping cases for $15 a box, the blisters for dirt cheap. Like,
yeah,
I'm guessing they lost the license to whoever was starting to do Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah,
I don't know who does Dragon Ball Super, but yeah, it just randomly died.
I read about it, but I'm blanking on the exact. Yeah.
So yeah, anything can like just happen in the blink of an eye. I mean, there was no competitive market for that card game. There was no not really any collector market, I guess. But I mean, to me, I'm biased with Dragon Ball Z. I mean, I have a pretty big vintage collection, but like I love it. And I know it's huge in Japan. I know it's pretty big for most people our age. Like we all know what it is, watch the show. It just still surprises me that Dragon Ball Z hasn't really like taken off. But
Yeah.
it's nice to have with Pokemon being so expensive now.
Yeah, I mean, my feeling is that so there's this idea that these things, no one's going to want these things because they didn't collect it as a kid. And the reason that everyone loves Pokemon cards or vintage Pokemon cards is because they had that exact card as a kid. I don't really agree with that. I actually think we're more connected to the concept of it, and it's a bit of a looser nostalgia than it is like I have nostalgia for that exact card. Now, there clearly is also a connection to exact cards, but I think when you see Dragon Ball Z characters, if you watch that show, there's a nostalgia and a connection and a coolness. Yeah. So those are some of the score. So for those of you guys that don't know Dragon Ball Z cards, the score cards are quite difficult to find, and there are different rarity levels. Those are ultra rares.
Mm-hmm.
The six stars. So on the Dragon Ball, they have different rarity levels, and maybe I'll do a video on this on the channel at some point.
Probably can't see it, but
yeah. And I'm still learning right now in the process of learning what are because there were also like tournament cards. There were like 7-star cards that were very rare, given out to just like the championships and trophy cards.
Victorious. A top 16 card here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Speaking of nostalgic attachment to this stuff, when you think of Dragon Ball Z, you think of the anime, and a lot of us watched it. A lot of us joke around and meme about it. You know, the powering up for 3 episodes. Yeah. And the cool thing about these cards is they're snapshots from the actual anime. So, like, I remember this exact moment. I remember these exact moments of these cards. You know, I love that there's this unique artwork and different artworks from people in Pokemon, but this has a direct attachment to the show, and that's exactly what I loved growing up. Mm-hmm. So, for me, the nostalgic hits so hard when I look at these cards. And that's something that I don't know if people have put together yet, like I have, but maybe it'll click. But yeah, there's just so many.
Don't know about them. I think that there's a card. I do agree with Gary Vee in one place, which is that clearly there is cards were really big, I think, for a lot of people of our generation. When collecting basketball cards, sports cards, and baseball cards and Pokemon cards were the main ones, but also Yu-Gi-Oh and some other things that they collect, Digimon, some people. And I do think that people are rediscovering their love of collecting and collecting cards, and so I think Pokemon started it, and I think that a lot of the attention and heat went to Pokemon, and that is going to filter around, and so I do believe in these other things. I think that these things are investable. These old, particularly the sealed product, because the sealed product seems to be extremely rare, particularly the first edition score boxes.
They're limited.
Or limited edition,
They're known as limited edition with that little sticker there,
Sticker.
Yeah, no, I've paid attention to Dragon Ball Z since the moment I got into Pokemon.
Yeah.
I hate that I didn't buy more of it because I was able to buy these boxes for $80 to $200 when I first got in, and
how long ago
was that was 2016.
Okay.
But I was instead spending $1,000 on a Pokemon box because I was chasing the money and not chasing what I wanted to collect. I pick them up every now and then. I got close to getting one of every set. I mean, there's a select few, like the Frieza Saga. I just can't find the limited edition. There's one for sale for like $8,000. I'm not going to spend that. I probably should, but I'm not going to.
The Trunks one is hard, right? The limited Trunks.
Both of them. I can't find them. A limited one sold at auction for $6,700. Yeah, so there are people that want to buy this stuff.
Yeah.
And I passed up on so many things. This one finally came up. This is like the Grail set card. This is like the Charizard, basically.
Yeah.
The limited edition Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Mm-hmm. And there's different holo patterns too. But this one popped up for $2,000, best offer. I just picked it up right away because I knew like I just need it. I need to have one, be done with it. I probably overpaid, but it was something that, I don't think I've ever overpaid for a Pokemon card, but I've overpaid for Dragon Ball Z because I truly I care about it, want to collect it. So, yeah, this stuff is interesting. One fun story about it, when I was, again, early on in 2016 and 17, some guy on eBay listed a distributor case of Cell Saga packs. Cell Saga is my favorite one. And a distributor case, for those that don't know, and they do exist in vintage Pokemon, are 700 pack cases. So there's 700 booster packs.
Wow, I had no idea. Never heard of it.
I've never seen one in Pokemon, but I know my store guys that I've talked to in the past used to get them.
That would be pretty fun to open.
And guess what I did? So I bought it, 50 cents a pack, $350.
Oh my God.
He had 4 others and I passed on them. I wish I bought all of them. But I got the box, giant cardboard box, 700 packs. I called my brothers over because me and my brothers did all these card games together: Harry Potter, MLB Showdown, Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon Magic. I said, hey, I just got 700 Dragon Ball Z packs. You guys want to come over and open them? We ripped through 700 packs. The greatest time ever. But little did I know, the rarity of ultra rares is 1 in 10 boxes. So I only pulled 2 out of 700 packs.
Crazy.
It's insane.
If only you had known, you would have known to have bought all 4.
Yeah. Although I would have opened them all probably at this point. But sure, just having that many packs would have been super cool. I've been terrible with sealed product in the past, keeping it sealed, but I'm capable of keeping it out of my system.
I'm capable of keeping one thing sealed of each thing. If I ever have a duplicate of anything, it gets opened immediately. Like that night. It's
tough, man.
I'm slowly going through some vintage stuff right now and opening it, and just like, and I don't do it for the channel because I honestly just like doing it just for myself and just enjoying it. And it's just so fun opening vintage product. And but every time I open it too, I'm like, oh, how much of this is left? I need to get more. It's like extremely addicting feeling. It's like, okay, well, if I open this, then like one less out of existence. How many more of these are out there? I need to like source 3 more in order to like open this one. And like, it's this kind of like ongoing. So I think that for me, it's very addicting. The sealed product and opening packs. I think it's part of why, for the investing side, it's I did not go into sealed product in Pokemon because I just thought I'd open it, and I also just didn't want to own it as much as I wanted the PSA 10 versions. But of course, right now I wish that I had gotten a little more. There were a few things. Like I wanted like one pack art of everything, and there were some things that I just thought that I would have time, as everyone did, and I didn't, and I just won't. I have price points in my head that I just won't ever go over, or anytime soon for items, and I gave this to myself, but for me, it's sort of like, I'm just going to move on to the next thing. And if the next thing's like Dragon Ball or some early vintage Dragon Ball Z stuff that still gives me the same sort of experience for much less money, like that's the stuff. Cause I really want my channel to cater a lot to collectors, and how do you collect vintage, old school rarity, scarcity in a way that doesn't like break the bank type of thing. And so that's why I've shown the Harry Potter boxes, some of Middle Earth. Middle Earth is really cool. Do you know Middle Earth at all?
I bought some. That's Lord of the Rings, I assume, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what I bought in the past of Lord of the Rings. It was some like weird, like one of those $20 value boxes with like a bunch of packs and theme decks in them, and I just opened it all. I don't know if it was Middle Earth or what, but I've typically stuck to like Wizards of the Coast products outside of Dragon Ball Z Score. Like there's I mentioned MLB Showdown baseball game that Wizards of the Coast did. So
Yeah.
I have some boxes of that, my complete sets. And then Star Wars, that's a big one. I know there's like the vintage Decipher sets that might be more expensive, but there's Wizards of the Coast Star Wars. I only have like 2 boxes, but yeah, a lot of the Wizards of the Coast just like they're just nostalgic to me. Like the Wizards of the Coast itself is nostalgic to me. So finding some sealed product, Neopets even, which I don't have any yet. I'm looking for some, but it's just weird that I am attracted to that logo.
Yeah. Doesn't seem weird at all to me.
No?
Makes
Okay.
perfect sense that
Are you buying any Dragon Ball Z?
yeah, so I wish that I had like I literally just started like 2 weeks ago, to be completely honest with you, on the score stuff.
Yeah.
So I started with
Mhm.
Panini because I did a bunch of research and I said, okay, well, Panini is a really unbelievable, like for the value and the fun that you get of opening it. I was buying packs for like
Mhm.
25 cents, that type
Yeah.
of thing. And just buying it in large bulk, cracking it, building out the binders of each set, trying to get all the in the Panini sets. There are it's as you said, it's the exact same or very very similar to Score in a lot of ways. Other than and maybe I don't quite know this yet, but do they don't have copies of like a lot of the ultra rares in Panini? They're different, right? Or are they all
Um,
copies in the later sets? Because I haven't really explored. I haven't yet
the
opened I haven't yet opened Awakening.
Okay. The ultra rares I believe are different. Like I know like Goku's plan, which is like the original Saiyan saga ultra rare. I
Yeah,
know they like reprinted this art in just like a 3-star uncommon, I think, in one of those.
Heroes and Villains.
So they
Yeah,
they mix them up.
I think.
But yeah, the or is that yeah. Yeah, that's right. I think.
I think just because I opened
So
a
but
bunch of
yeah,
Heroes and Villains, and I think I pulled that from that. But I've opened so much from that. I might
yeah.
be-
Yeah, and the ultra rares are easier to pull. It's not 1 in 10 boxes. I think it's one per box or so, if I
I think
remember correctly.
I pulled less than one per box.
Okay, yeah,
Not much less,
right.
and I
Yeah,
also
I
may have
remember it
gotten
was.
a little unlucky. So
Yeah, I think I remember a couple boxes that didn't have one either. But
yeah,
yeah, the ultra rares were different. I remember actually trying to like build a small position in some of them, thinking it would like work out. And I bought. I don't know if they're in here anymore. I don't know where I put them. I bought like the regular Goku and Vegeta ultra rare from um, maybe from that Heroes and Villains. I bought like 6 of each. They were like $5. Now I think they're $7.
yeah. They're selling out though. The question is how many more are behind it. So whenever, and this is a great tip for
Mm,
anyone out there on eBay, and this is a classic thing that people fall into when they're trying to do buyouts, is sellers will list 70 cards and say 67 have sold, there are only 3 left. You buy the last 3 thinking,
mm.
okay, now it's out, and then they're going to just list 70 more potentially behind that.
Yeah,
And so there's this,
yeah,
you have to always be careful the depth of how many and I would say that for the
yeah.
evolutions booster boxes too. Just the depth there,
Oh yeah,
when people would talk about eBay's running out of evolutions, I'm like, don't worry, guys, eBay's not running out of evolutions booster boxes. These guys have thousands.
yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that Hills probably has thousands of cases of evolutions if they didn't sell out of them. I mean, they just relisted some base set Harry Potter. They had like 40 boxes.
Yeah,
So they, these play, and that's just one place.
yeah,
And yeah, people do that constantly. So, um, yeah, be careful with that. I don't know about Panini. It's definitely it's super cheap. I don't know how much
yeah,
cheaper it can get. So why not buy some if you have some extra funds to throw at it?
yeah.
And it's fun to open if you're having the itch to open. Um, but
And it's very
yeah,
difficult to create hollow versions of the complete sets. That's an extremely
mhm,
difficult feat.
yeah,
You get one every 3 to 4 packs. You get a hollow, basically of one of the cards from the set, but there are like
Mhm.
140 cards in the set, and you need to get each one in hollow, and you're going to get lots of doubles as you open. So you would have to open
Yeah.
like thousands, or like
Cases.
over 1,000 packs, in order to have a chance of
Yeah.
getting like almost complete. Now you can also probably go online and try to
Mhm.
source, and buy them down separately. But I think that is
That's no fun.
What? Yeah, it's not fun.
That's no fun to do.
Yeah. And so I do think because of that, I actually could see people doing at these prices. I could see the supply is, depending on how endless it is. I actually think a lot of
Mhm.
people are going to be opening it because it's so fun.
Yeah.
And I think that if people get back into Dragon Ball Z, basically what happens is now people start buying it, they start opening it, which does actually reduce the endless supply eventually and might raise the prices on all these things. So I do think that there's potential, particularly if Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super, continues to do well somewhere down the line for this stuff. But yeah, I mean, score is where it's at. But honestly, the price differential is interesting. The fact that Panini is so dirt cheap is interesting.
And the fact that it was short lived, and so that those print runs probably weren't super high and nowhere comparable to what Pokemon does because people weren't buying it even when it was active.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very short lived. And now that I think of it, when everything died, it was that Awakening set, and that Awakening set was sweet. So I might have to go buy some.
And Awakening is fairly expensive. And
It's back up.
I mean, we're talking $60 a box.
Okay, it used to be 25.
Yeah, so expensive, 50 to 60, expensive compared to like the other boxes. Awakening and Evolution.
Right. That's what I paid when it came out.
Yeah, and Premiere's a little hard to find. But just the fact that those things have moved up also shows that there's not endless supply for all of the sets. For those of you who might be interested, Perfection seems to be the one that has the most booster boxes I've seen, just endless amounts of those booster boxes for whatever reason. And then Heroes and Villains doesn't have that many booster boxes, but has unlimited supply of like blister packs. I don't know. I mean, this has just been for me
Blisters,
looking.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
It's just like when I've looked at all of my usual places and on eBay, it's just like I'm seeing just endless amounts of that at really cheap prices, but not a lot of booster boxes and people charging a fair amount. So, yeah.
Yeah. But 1 second. Write down this time. That we have to edit up. Sorry, 1 second.
No problem.
This could actually be an interesting story too. I'll touch on it after we finish our Dragon Ball Z. Shit, I want to write down this time. I try my best to do it so I don't have to edit it all, but when things do pop up, it's nice to have it written down so I can find it real quick and cut it out.
Yeah. I don't edit. We'll see if I edit this or not.
Really?
Throw everything on there, man, including this. That's what people get when they
that's the easiest way to do it. All right. Well,
level of quality we provide.
It'll be on a second. But yeah, the Panini stuff. Yeah, now that we talk about it, I might have to go revisit that and see if I can find any. Because yeah, the score stuff is just impossible to find. I mean, the one thing that you have to do when you buy these is get two of them because they stack up like this. So
yeah,
you have to get two so you can display them that way. If you can find enough of them. But actually, my neighbor's apartment flooded the other day. A sprinkler head burst and just ran the entire day, ruined the entire apartment, all their stuff, and then leaked into my apartment, leaked into the bathroom, leaked into the closet where I do keep some inventory, and into the bedroom as well. Thankfully, the only thing that got ruined was a giant Bulbasaur Funko Pop box.
Okay.
But I keep everything up well above the ground level. in case anything like that does happen. But thank you. Um, so yeah, no damage, but a little bit of a scare when I think I was coming home from dropping off packages and there were some fire trucks and alarms going off. I
Oh
was like,
my
oh
god,
god.
dude.
So
Oh my god.
moved a lot out of my apartment after that. I mean, I have to keep stuff here obviously for because I'm buying and selling all the time, but yeah, scary
Yeah.
little heart
Although
drop.
then you'd get to like collect everything again.
No thanks. I'll have to go get a job to do that.
It just allows you, because it's all about the collecting. It's not about the owning.
You know, I get a lot of hate now. I find it funny. I mean, I can't collect anymore. I just don't have the money to do it.
Yeah.
But I set aside what my true collection pieces were before I decided to do this. So
Yeah.
I have a collection. It's small, but it's there. So yeah.
Yeah.
What's it? Just wanted to close the door that the fan was blowing. That's drying the carpets. All right. So yeah, sorry to throw us off track a little bit, but yeah, it's with Pokemon getting so crazy,
Yeah.
it's really important to continue having a collection of some kind to enjoy the hobby or a hobby. And
Yeah.
yeah, Dragon Ball Z, although it's climbing up and it's hard to find, it's still something that I can collect. Harry Potter is still available. Star Wars is available. So there's other things that we can branch out into.
Yeah. I think that's been my strategy because I am such a collector and love collecting that my strategy was I'm gonna stop collecting Pokemon during this period because it doesn't feel very like it feels just very like investor flooded and focused on short-term returns and all these sorts of things, and it just wasn't as fun, honestly. Also, that part of
Mhm.
it too. um and but and I had also collected it for 2.5 straight years and really made a lot of progress on what I wanted to do and achieved a huge amount of it. So, so I for me, it was fun to look into these other sorts of things. As we talked about in the beginning, I love just like history. I love like learning about new things. Uh,
Mhm.
like that process in and of itself is really exciting. And I've learned a lot about Pokemon. And, I think as you also mentioned at one point, it's sort of like there does come a wall of like, okay, like I've sort of learned uh, um, a lot here, and yes, I'm still learning like what version is like glossy and not glossy from like different like magazines and like what
Yeah.
and like which one is rare, like there are certain like really intricate things that people are still debating, and I'm still trying to learn from them, and errors, and it's like you can sort of get there, but a lot of the other stuff I feel like I absorbed that information and understood it,
Yeah.
and now it's fun to like go into Dragon Ball Z and like learn about that. It was fun going into Middle Earth, fun going into Harry Potter. I went into
Mhm.
like Marvel cards a little bit and just kind of doing
Yeah.
some
Same.
research there. Yeah.
Have you discovered there's a set they release every year. Shoot, what's it called? They do like an artist set, and the entire set's numbered. Every single card's numbered. They're like really thick. I bought one of the boxes, 2019 one, and it was just really cool to open. Really cool artwork. You
Yeah.
get like a 101 in each box or something like that, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, like that's the thing that's where the true love and nostalgia comes from is from opening, and because that's what we did as kids. It was that excitement of opening up a pack and pulling whatever amazing card came out of it.
Yeah.
So um whether it's Pokemon or Marvel or anything, I love that excitement of seeing new cards, seeing new artwork, and that little gambling aspect of
Absolutely.
maybe pulling the chase card. So um yeah, I mean that's the most important thing that people need to take from all this is finding your true passion and where it lies in this hobby and chasing that instead of chasing the money, because you can get burnt out really, really quick, and also burned by not doing your research.
I've had a few, like just one or two of my viewers be upset that I'm like into other things other than Pokemon, and that I'm like talking about things other than Pokemon. And I just, it's a really interesting reaction,
Yeah.
to, and my response is basically like, yes, I'm a human being who gets bored of talking about Pokemon and just looking at Pokemon, and I have like a lot of hobbies and a lot of things I enjoy, and
Uh-huh.
I'm very passionate about this and love it and care a lot about the community. It's this interesting thing
Yeah.
of like we're multifaceted human beings who also get bored, or we want to gamble, or I'm tired of gambling, I want to invest, or I'm tired of investing, I want
Hmm.
to collect, or and so I think that it's really about knowing yourself and setting goals, and everyone has their
Hmm.
own sort of journey. And during your journey, you might have a period right now where it's like I'm more of a business, and then you might have
Hmm.
periods where it's like, okay, well, I'm more of a collector right now, or I'm doing more collecting, I'm doing more pack opening. Um, you may leave the hobby and take a break, and then come back to it later,
Hmm.
and it's just sort of it's weird. I think that there's a weird reaction of like there's something like impure about like about like being honest
Into
about.
anything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that the other part of that too is there are people who are obsessed with the money part of Pokemon, and they don't
Hmm.
like me moving money from this hobby to like other hobbies potentially, because there's
Yeah.
a thing of like they just want to keep their card values high. And
Right.
they're totally on board like if I talk about their cards and I talk about their cards positively, and then
Yeah.
they hate on it if I talk about something else, or I say things are overrated, or these sorts of things.
Right.
And yeah, and I bring that up within this discussion just because I think it's good for my audience to hear too. And I've been getting a little bit more of these questions of like, I'm feeling burned out, what should I do, Jake? Like those types of
Hmm.
questions in my lives. I get that at least once or twice in the last 50
Hmm.
lives. And that's sort of my response is like, first of all, like you don't have to do Pokemon at all. Like it's
Right.
all good. And it doesn't mean that you didn't love it and enjoy it. You can
Right.
leave it. There's something that I've heard some people say, like shaming people who sold their collections and got out of it, and
Hmm.
they like lost out on the profits, and they were stupid, and they cut and ran, and we're the smart ones who are still here. It's like any of that stuff is extremely unfair and toxic, and like you shouldn't
Hmm.
be buying Pokemon cards or collecting Pokemon cards if you're not enjoying it first and foremost,
Yeah.
and or
Yeah. A
any of
lot of those
the
people,
hobbies.
yeah, a lot of those people that sold out, they achieved their goal that
Yeah,
they set, and they hit that whatever dream thing. I mean, one discussion that I've had recently that will be popping up on YouTube here soon is the guy that sold the first complete PSA 10 Gold Star set, Hisoka.
yeah,
He sold it, sold his cards, bought his dream car, Corvette. I don't know what else he did with the money, but that was his goal. He accomplished it. He finished it. Took a break from Pokemon. Now he's back. It's something we do. There's other guys selling out right now because it's life changing money. They're able to. There's one guy who's selling the gold stars now on PWCC who says he's buying basically a vacation home or paying off his vacation lake home because that's what his daughter wants. Like that's the goal here. Like the goal isn't to have $1 million. The goal is not to have every Pokemon card there is. The goal is to like find that achievement in life, whether it's something to do with family, friends,
yeah.
personal exploration, whatever that is. And that changes for people depending on their situation.
Right.
My goal in the beginning was to collect every box in Pokemon. Then I sold them all because I wanted trophy cards.
Yeah.
And now I'm flipping trophy cards and selling trophy cards because I want an NBA. Now I'm thinking like, oh, this is good business. Why do I want an NBA when I can keep doing this for a while? So now I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing my podcast. I love the podcast. Like we're humans. We change our minds. We change our goals.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just got to take it as your situation is and make the best decisions that you can.
Yeah, it's one of these things that's like crazy about like YouTube, and I see some of these people and they come on with like the same energy, the same attitude, the same, the same like formula that works. And I'm
Hmm.
always like, all right, like it's so interesting that like that that how to put it, like it's a turnoff for me. Um and one thing that like big YouTubers like talk about, and I've talked it to me, is like that the burnout of just like doing the same content over and over again, of like being expected to be in a good mood or be like positive or like upbeat, and like the amount of
Hmm.
energy and toll all that takes. But like you're making a lot of money, it's working, and then how do you like adapt it a little so that you still like enjoy it, but also you don't just do like
Hmm.
whatever you want because you have a brand and you're trying to capitalize on it in a short
Right.
window. And it's like all that stuff is so reasonable to me, and I'm sure I'd feel the same way sort of in that position, particularly if I didn't have a career and
Hmm.
it was sort of like, outside of Pokemon, which was my goal. And it was sort of like, I really want to try this thing. I really want to do this thing. It's like, well, I have to figure out how to be successful at it and make profit and make money, a certain amount of money, or meet those goals. And I'm so on board with this idea that it's just like, you know, like a lot of people are going to feel differently, are going to have different goals within this, are going to want different things. And there should be a level of respect. But also, I think where I hold people to the fire is the authenticity point. And I think that like one question I got, I think, a decent amount of heat from certain people on this was me just feeling frustrated that people weren't warning people about the mania or the hype on these cards nearly as much.
Hmm.
And I bring that up here because I think that it's like it whose job was that, and maybe it's an interesting conversation to have, and for you to for me to ask your opinion on it. It's like, is that Leonhardt's job? Or is
Yeah.
Leonhardt's job to be like fun and upbeat and entertaining and provide nice quality, fun content where the vast majority of people watching his content are not spending hundreds of thousands, probably,
Right.
things.
Right.
Is that Scott Pratt's job because he's like the high end guy who's talking about that sort of market? Is it Nick's job? Is it PokeRev's job because he's selling into the market, and he should, and maybe he needs to be aware of like gambling addiction and like
Mm.
how much are people really, can they afford this, or are they feeling like it's a good investment? Is that the only reason they're doing it, not the fun? Because
Hmm.
gambling and pack opening is so, and it's like,
Yeah.
where does that responsibility lie? And
Yeah.
uh and I guess having that open conversation about it, and my perspective is always like, I don't know exactly. I think it clearly relies on individuals buying the cards for sure.
Right. Yeah.
It to do research, or be educated, or not listen to like random YouTube people that you've never met on like $10,000 purchases, like on the
Yeah.
one hand. But two, it's like when you come on and you say, I'm an expert in this, I know these things, and this is what you should buy, and it's only going to
Right.
go up. It's like,
Right.
should that person be does that person hold any responsibility, for doing something amoral or immoral, or what are your feelings on all of that? And as you're kind of entering in this space and being a business person,
Hmm.
do you think about that sort of stuff, like what you say? You also are not making those types of videos where you have to worry as much about it, which is,
Right. You know,
but
I drop price points here, like, but those are factual
yeah,
things that I do. Um, you know, I'm definitely talking about Dragon Ball Z a lot. Do people interpret that as like shilling it and trying to pump it up? Whatever they want to interpret it as, but I truly love this stuff. If it went up in value, that'd be awesome.
yeah,
Um, that's something that's really hard to avoid because I love talking about it, and I'll talk about this as much as I want
yeah.
because it's enjoyable to me.
But everything you and I have said in this conversation, for example, has been objective to the best of our ability, in the sense
Yeah.
that I'm like, I think Panini was potentially printed way too much for the demand to ever meet it. It's like, do you share
Hmm.
why it probably hasn't gone up, and also why you're hopeful it might. You know, like, are you
Right.
sharing
Yeah.
both sides? Because really, what
Yeah.
you're doing, you're providing a lot of value in that, because you are likely more educated than a lot of the people watching, you know, on this specific subject potentially.
Yeah.
And you're teaching, you're giving them that
Right.
insight that you've gained through
Yeah.
years. You know. So how do you differentiate between shilling
Yeah. I'll say.
and that? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say that recently I've gotten so annoyed with all the DMs of, hey, what's this worth? What should I do with this? Should I buy, sell, whatever?
Yeah.
That it's all up to the people buying to do their own research, just because I'm annoyed by it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's something that I try to compare to. I always try to compare this stuff to the stock market and the real world economy, I guess. You know, it's something that I grew up with. My dad's very in tune with and always talks to me about and tries to get me to buy and sell whatever stocks. And so I always try to tie things into there. I mean, we have your Jim Cramers, your, I don't know anyone else that talk about stocks, and, you know, Warren Buffett, he mentions one thing, and, you know, whatever goes up, you don't know what he actually owns. Well, you do if you look into it, but, you know, it's like S.M. Pratt. You don't know what he owns. That's not public information like Warren Buffett's ownership is. And so he can talk about whatever he wants, and we'll never know exactly what his intentions are. I mean, I know the guy decently well, and I figure that at this point, he really just talks about the things that he truly enjoys and tries to talk about different stuff. And it's probably impossible for him to talk about something that he doesn't own because he owns it all.
Yeah.
But you can't put the responsibility on anybody, like you said, other than the people buying it. I hate seeing the videos of like the Reds Pikachu that, you know, I know it's doing extremely well right now, but when the Reds Pikachu came out, and Unlisted Leaf did a video on it about being like the rarest card, or people saying it's super rare cards. Like,
I know.
That's irresponsible on their end.
It's directly harming lots of people financially.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, if someone listened to him early on, bought a ton of it, and wait till now, he would be doing incredible. But
you're right. The reverse of that is and helping a lot of people who owned it or have businesses trying to sell it.
Right.
But that's the nefarious side, is that I do feel like there's a complacency with some people because they're making so much money. Yeah. And they're getting so much notoriety and fame, and there's so much good that's coming out of it for them, that it's like, well, I'm not shilling into it, but I am going to sell, you know, and it's just sort of what it is. At the end of the day, it's like, and whatever ethics you want to put, it's kind of personal, right? It's like how, and, you know, I talked about this with Gotta Catch 'Em All in our last, you know, interview, where we talked about, like, how does he feel grading 50 Charmanders and then selling them all, you know, into the market one at a time, you know, knowing or feeling very strongly that that price point doesn't make sense, or that people are like, this is a ripoff for these people, you know?
Yeah.
And how much do you tell your, you know, and I guess it's and these are big themes in business, in any business. This isn't a Pokemon thing. This is a transparency. You know, there's this whole debate, I think, in this country, really, you know, and I think it's far too radical perspective on both sides, in my view. You know, my view on this stuff is more like, I hear people, one group say something like, you know, all of business is good for us, and everything that everyone, like, they wouldn't be getting money from anyone if they weren't providing a service that was actually helpful and useful for people. And I say to that, to me, that's clearly wrong, because we do tons of things, and we do tons of business, and we make tons of decisions that are bad for us.
Yeah.
You know, you look at, like, you know, cigarettes or something, you know, like there are tons of businesses that are built around things that shorten people's lives, that make people depressed, alcoholic, you know, drug addicted. Like, so just because there's a need or a want doesn't mean that seems to be like a public good or a public health good.
Right.
At the other side though, there's the side that says like all business is just like evil and corrupt and trying to manipulate and trick. And it's like, no, like business and innovation has created a world for us where we get so many things that make our lives better at really affordable, mass produced, where we all can have it. And it makes our lives so much easier and better than they would have been 50 to 100 years ago. And so it's
social media is the prime example, just how much money people make off of it. But the fact that it makes communicating with your loved ones, just that it is, you're back and forth. So yeah, just about anything is like that. And it's hard to figure out who, if it falls on it. I don't think you can't put that responsibility on anybody. It sucks. I don't know how to. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one.
Where I try to put objectivity into it as much as I possibly can is, are people giving both sides of the argument? So it's like if they're saying that this card is a good buy, are they saying it's because they subjectively like the art? Are they saying because they know its rarity, and are they being transparent about that? Are they transparent about how much they own? And I do think that it's like with each thing you don't do, I'm more suspicious of you. And I totally agree with your first statement of like, we can't know what's going on inside. But I also think logically, it's like if a person only talks positively about something that they own, particularly if there are very clear, and we're talking financially here, very clear negative, supply and demand qualities to an item.
Yeah.
But they continue to talk really positively about it. To me, it's a shilling for it. It seems like a shilling for it, or a naivete, and they may be like, I don't have a responsibility. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And I've had people like tend to be extremely rude and annoying about it, but they like yell at me and say, like, you pansy, like we're all trying to cut each other's throats out here. It's like that sort of response. Like we're all basically awful and we're all trying to like cut each other's throats. Like everyone is shilling, get over it. That type of response. And it's interesting stuff.
Yeah. I mean, personally, like we had in this conversation, I'd be as honest as I can about things. Like I like the Umbreon and Espeon. I bought and sold the Umbreon. I have an Espeon on the way. I said that things of that value, of that rarity. If I talk about it, I will personally. I'm completely open about what I have. I stream on my Twitch and I show off my inventory list with how much it's worth, the value, what I spend on it, everything. Like I'm an open book. It's probably stupid, but that's just a personal decision. And I wish there was a way to have things more regulated, especially with how big the market is now. I mean, it's still not even comparable to sports or anything, I guess. But if you're getting into anything like this, you just got to do as much research as possible. So it's all on each individual. That's really the only answer, I think.
I think what's hard is when the older people don't share the information freely. And I think that that gets into what responsibility they have. And one answer would be like, none. And I've worked very hard to have this information. And so I'm going to put it behind a paywall. Basically, type of response. I'm going to, if you want my information, you have to pay a consulting fee. You have to,
well, that's not wrong either. In my opinion, I don't think that's wrong at all. I think, I mean, personally, I got to the point now where I've been able to charge some consulting fees as well, which is great. But yeah, I mean, you pay whatever Wall Street Journal or whatever to get information from them. So why wouldn't you pay an expert in this field for their stuff, their information?
Yeah, I think it goes back to that feeling of like, it's like, how much are they asking? How much value are they getting? And this is where you get into like the danger of manias and bubbles, and you get into the danger of get rich quick schemes, and you get in the danger of like branding and selling. And going back to that dichotomy of like you're getting value for your money versus you're being tricked into thinking you're getting value for your money, or branded into getting value, or you're actually getting like very bad advice, like that's negatively like directly impacting you, but you refuse to see it because the person you're following is a cult, has a cult like following. And so you see this with a lot of people, a lot of these like cult figures online who have these get rich quick type followings, where
these
they're
day traders with discords that you pay $200 a month to get in. Yeah.
And people lose massive amounts of money and then defend the $2,000 course. They paid $2,000 for the course. They lost money and time, and then they defend that person as like it was good and really it's my fault. And then they shame themselves. And it's just it's not like, my answer to all this is it's not black and white, but there is substance to it, and there are lines. There do seem to be some lines that need to be drawn, and it does seem to be something that I think should be discussed. And I think it's the shutting down of that discussion that's concerning to me in some places where I've seen it. So it's interesting. I think that from the business side, it's so important because that's the type of stuff that I think is going to actually create trust in the market.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's like the more PokeRev, like, who is an amazing businessman, a really smart guy, a really hard worker, and has a wonderful, fun channel and wonderful community. It's like the way that he, in my opinion, is also going to be really successful in the long run is like being aware of these sorts of things and treating his audience with a lot of respect and being very like careful with gambling addiction. And like, I don't know him personally, but it's like, those are like, to me, I do think those things are very important from the business aspect too, of like maintaining credibility. It's like, do you want to become a cult leader? Or because if becoming cult leaders where you trick people and then you can do awful, deceitful things and take advantage of people, and they're so dependent on their version of you that they just they defend you anyway. So
I'll have PokeRev on probably before. I'll probably post his before this one, but I'm very, very close with him now, and for someone working as much as he is or puts in all this time and effort, you can easily just kind of be blind yourself from that and be so focused on what you're doing that it just doesn't become, it's just a self-awareness problem. But, we talked about that a little bit, not like as far as saying it was like a gambling addiction, but just the fact of the simple knowledge of you should never open any sealed product if financially you should always keep it sealed. He's an advocate for that. He probably should talk about that more. Will it hurt his business model? Maybe, but we're all here, and that's what these boxes were made for, were to be open. So probably not. But it's an interesting conversation to have. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because. More people should be more transparent about what they're saying. But of course, in the world of collectibles, it's a very delicate thing. If I came across 40 Pikachu illustrators tomorrow, would I want to tell anybody?
Yeah.
And
it's part of the problem of creating dual relationships with people. And this is a big thing in therapy. I'm a therapist, right? So if I were your therapist, but also your business partner, it would create dual relationships. So in this business, the problem is if I'm your seller, if I'm selling you the product, but also giving you financial advice on what you should buy. And this is the problem with PokeRev. And this is the hard thing, is how do you both do something that's bad for them financially, which is sell them packs at a higher rate, to be completely transparent, at a higher rate. And then on another day, give financial advice to make yourself look like you're a financial advisor and you're in the best interest of your audience's finances. And I think that that's the part that is a struggle. And I think he does both well, and they're on like two separate days. But it's like, are people associating those things together?
Right.
And, and he is like really great at his job in
Yeah.
my opinion, in his channel, like phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of other
It's top of
streamers
the
that,
line. Yeah.
yeah, there are a lot of other streamers I've talked about that I've like have done such like blatantly unethical things within this space to
Oh
me,
my
and
God.
just
Yeah.
like unbelievably show their own cards, give out like lie about the prices, give outrageous information.
Well, what's
You know,
going on now? Mizkif and Ludwig and all
oh,
these
that's a whole
XQC
nother thing.
opening.
Yeah,
Gosh, the prices
that's a
they're
whole
throwing
nother
around
thing.
are, yeah,
Yeah, and they have
it's
these like
crazy.
expert come on, a third guy who knows like basically
No,
nothing.
knows
And
more, but
I mean, it's like I want to like reach out, like I want to reach out to them and just be like, I literally want no fame. Like I'm completely uninterested in like getting any credit or fame through your channels, but I like every time you guys do this, it makes me cringe, and I think it makes other people
yeah.
cringe who are in the hobby, and I think it's really hurting people. So
Hmm.
can I like send you prices like for free of like what these things are worth, and you can show it's like
I was
measure them.
that was a kind of self conversation I had in my own head when I went to the Aoki thing with Gary, the base box opening there. Um, I ended up being a lot more involved than I originally thought, and I was in the background. They were asking me pop reports and prices every now and then, and
Yeah.
I was scared to throw numbers out, but I think I did an okay job with it. I don't know if anyone was like, I don't think as many people watch it obviously as like Logan Paul, so I don't know if there were any memes that I made. I don't remember the things I was saying, but even with that, one of the guys donated a PSA 9 Chansey.
Hmm.
I gave him one price before we started, and he stated another one. So, uh, there's some things that you just. I mean, it was all for charity, so whatever. But still, it was a bit of an inflated price point, and yeah, that stuff is painful. Like, I mean, the right people to be on on that stream with them don't have the time to do it. Um, but
Is that true?
no, I have the time to do it. I would love to do it.
Yeah, I'm capable of doing it too.
You've got the time, yeah.
So I'm not really sure, and I don't think it like you need like the famous people to do it. I think that the
That's
famous people
true.
bring in more views.
Yeah,
So, and that I get, right? Like that, like
yeah.
from like, and I'm uninterested in becoming a YouTube personality and like these sorts of things. So it's like
Hmm.
I'm also not looking for it to build my brand or my business.
See, that's where my intention would fall differently, because I
Of
would love to.
course,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And I think that you should, and I think you will. I mean, you have the knowledge. It's I think one thing that's difficult is that you two things I would say. One is like having, it's like you need, if you want to do it, you have to do more clickbaity stuff, and you have to
yeah.
do those like top 5 videos, like top
Hmm.
10, ways of making money in the market. It's like, and it's sort of like, uh, but like doing those without like losing your credibility.
Yeah.
Like how do you
Or
like managing that? Like, do you want to
yeah.
be one of these guys like who like dresses in a suit and talks about like investing? Right now, like is
You
that
know,
you?
right, yeah. Which Toy Spake Jake, who's the one that does that.
Oh, does he do that? I didn't even know.
Yeah, he found a nice niche. He's doing really well right now.
He's a
So
pretty
I'm
good
actually,
channel.
yeah, very, very good information. And yeah, he puts on a suit and does that. I remember the first time I saw him, I was like, this is a joke. But no, he's doing really well and puts out solid information. He's like a legitimate
Uh-huh.
news channel for Pokemon. It's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, dude, like that's the huge battle I'm facing is I I don't want to do this to be a Pokemon YouTuber. I want to just be like like if it were to work, I would want it to be just a YouTuber, just to be a personality.
Yeah.
So I'm really pushing myself away from trying to do that. I even started doing pack openings, and unfortunately, it started with Champions Path, and I just hated it because it was the most boring thing in the world to open. So
Yeah.
I just physically couldn't show any excitement. Um, but yeah, that's the struggle, and I don't even know if I want to do that. My main business is selling Pokemon cards. It's treating me well. Am I throwing money and wasting it trying to make things better here? Probably, but I'm really enjoying this, so it's worth the money, worth the time, worth the effort.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think it's good
so
for both of our viewers to hear these sorts of things, that like you and I are real people with real, goals and these sorts of things, just
mhm.
like every other, YouTuber or person wanting to come on this. And I think it's like you want to do something that's fun, that you enjoy doing, and
Mhm.
it would probably be fun and enjoyable to make a lot of money, just editing videos and putting up like a couple videos a week, or making a full-time
Yeah.
living, or getting ad revenue. And then also, what's become such a great business part of this is obviously the selling of the packs can be really great,
Mhm.
particularly if you can source them and get them at good prices.
Mhm.
These pack sellers are making a killing. I'm going to interview a streaming channel soon, who opens
Mhm.
packs, and just a small one, and the amount of like that they go through,
Mhm.
a product. There's so much um, desire for it right now. For these
Yeah.
pack opening channels, it's like overflowing all of these channels. They sell out all the time with everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I partnered with an app and have been doing breaks on there. People have probably seen it on my Instagram. Um, I clearly show that they're ads and that I'm partnered with them. Um, but I did a Vivid Voltage case break the other day, and like, yeah, if I had bought this stuff with a distributor license at those costs or those price points, like you can make so much money and just go through it endlessly. Like people will constantly buy $5 packs, $6 packs, $7 packs. Like I could do it all day long. But it's just a matter of like, is that the time I like the packaging and the open? It's a lot of time. So um, that would be like a whole main focus. If you were to do that as a business, you'd have to do that full time basically.
Yeah.
Because yeah, the time they take is yeah. Rev does 8-hour streams opening evolutions.
Yep.
That's a headache.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine the grind. I opened like 180 packs today, and I
Of
was like
what?
exhausted of which one was it, of Heroes and Villains,
Okay.
DBZ.
Yeah.
And like I was like, all right, it's enough. Like, and I love pack openings, but I
Yeah.
was like, that was like an amazing binge. But like,
Yeah.
okay, like
Now you
I'm
got all this bulk to deal with. Where am I going to put
yeah,
it?
yeah, like I'm good. That was fun. That was really enjoyable. And yeah, these guys, and even someone not as as big and successful as PokeRep, but just a lot of these smaller streamers who do it, they're going through, they're doing 3-4 hour streams every night, selling
Hmm.
opening packs, selling cards, interacting with people nonstop. And it's definitely work, quite a bit of
Yeah.
work. And I think for a lot of them, it's sort of like a second job, at the end of the day, and
Mm.
and it's and it's a
Yeah.
and it's a nice side gig and a good source of income. And
Hmm.
it's like, and I made a video about this on my channel, but it's like all of these things I believe can be like win-wins. It's all about the transparency. It's like, does your audience
Hmm.
understand? Like, are you telling them like what the cards are actually going to grade? Are you telling them like what their cards are actually going to be worth if they grade in a 9 or 10 instead of like 10x?
Everything's a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you telling them things like, and this was one of the most common things that like Logan Paul, like everyone was saying this line on these streams.
Hmm.
Well, you lost money right now, but if you hold it for 10 to 20 years, you'll make money. And to me, that is the most gambling at like, because when we think of real gambling addicts, and there are plenty of real gambling addicts involved in this right now, I guarantee you,
Hmm.
just numerically, they will take anything that they can do to get that out of like justification to keep them like
Hmm.
it enables is the word we would use. It's enabling that behavior. They're enabling that behavior, and you're profiting off of that behavior. And so that's like the
Right.
reality of what's happening. And
Yeah.
um it's it's just tricky. How do you police that? Who polices that? And as a creator, what are your responsibilities there? And I am going to have my views. People are going to have their own views.
Hmm.
I think as you build your business, it'll be interesting. I'll certainly be watching. It'll be interesting kind of where you decide to take it. And I think that's part of the fun is there are a lot of ways to take it from, all of the work you've done, making the connections. And that's part of what doing these podcasts is. And that'll serve you really well long-term, is just having the friendships and the connections with people. If you want a certain card, or you're trying to make a deal, or whatever it is, or if you want to get more social media, just knowing these more famous people, connecting with them, being seen with them will help your, brand. And, all that's obviously very true. And that opens up those avenues. Or do you want to just open packs, or do you want to just be, a seller? Do you want to just have an Instagram? Do you want to make your own products? Do you want to be a PSA a middleman? Do you want to be a consultant? It's like there's so many options that have opened up right now. And as long as the demand remains, it'll be interesting to see who kind of fills those spaces. Like James from Z&G, who's now left his job and is making a living off of the Graded Gem, off of being that middleman service now, and buying and selling collections.
I talked to him about that briefly.
Yeah.
And
what do you think?
Well, I didn't ask too much because I wanted to save it for an extra podcast. But he's basically like, yeah, we can schedule something in the new year. He's up till 3 a.m. He's got his wife doing it, helping him out. Like, the amount of cards he has to take care of is ridiculous. Like, that's something I would never touch. I know that Ludkins, like Charlie, I don't know what they have set up there, but apparently they have it set up in a way that it's much easier. Whatever processes they handle it by. But yeah, I would never touch that. That would just, I can't even stand sending my own 25 card submissions into PSA. It's so annoying. But yeah, it's, I talked to Jed Mint about that as well. The podcast will be live tomorrow, which is the 10th. And that's been his biggest struggle, is where is his place in the hobby? Like, Jed Mint Pokemon is a big name. He's one of the most well-known, respected people in this hobby. And, he took a little break at one point to go back to school. And as he came back in to being more, out in the social media place, he's kind of felt like he's lost his place. He doesn't know where he fits in. Like, he could have been PokeRev, he could have been Pratt, he could have been TCA, but he took that break and he's struggling figuring out where to go next. And I mean, I'm thankful to where, like, I've fallen into place. I mean, I don't feel like it's deserved at all people, thankfully I've been able to associate myself with a lot of big names, and I dedicate all that hard work, that's what I dedicate it to, but it still feels kind of surreal because I feel like I'm new to the hobby still, with all these guys being in here for like 10 plus years. But finding this podcast for me,
they're amazing and great, but so are you.
Yeah. I mean,
you have a lot of knowledge and genuine passion, and because they're great guys, they actually want to be friends with you and get to know you, and they're not just interested in people who are going to help their careers. They're interested in people who have the same passion as them. I mean, to me, it just speaks to and it was the same people who agreed to come on my channel. When I was new, it's like they have absolutely nothing to gain. It's a pure that they're nice people. They're caring people, and they want to talk about this stuff, and they care about the community, and they like what you're doing.
What is it called? Like imposter syndrome or something?
Imposter
the terminology. You know the terminology, whatever it's called.
It's easy to put them on a pedestal, and it's easy to put yourself too low. When in reality, like, they're wonderful, and so are you. What you're doing on this channel is wonderful too.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I found my place with this podcast. I hope I can keep it going. You found your place with the market, the more market economic talks. Yeah. And it seems like you love it. So just keep that going. And yeah, we're all going to give our piece, share our knowledge, share our passion in whatever way we find right. So, yeah, it's a scary world. Market's bonkers. I don't know what to buy. Stop asking me. Buy trophy cards. I'm confident in saying that.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, it's fun though.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, it's been really fun just going back to opening those Dragon Ball Z packs too, and other
Yeah.
packs, and getting back into. It had been a while since I was opening packs. 'Cause I just never been a sealed collector, and I
Mhm.
think doing that, and opening some of the modern Pokemon,
Yeah.
because I was really like, I came out really early saying that I'm concerned about some things I'm seeing in the market. And I don't
Mhm.
think anyone else was making those videos. I never saw any videos on it during the times that I was making. And I was getting a lot of just like heat from
Mhm.
like people who would watch, and just like very angry, about
Yeah.
that I was not just saying everything's going to keep going up and all the time, and these sorts of things. And that definitely took joy away,
Yeah.
from hobby for me, 100%. And I think
Yeah.
the way I rationalized it was like, you know what, like, I know, like, I feel comfortable enough with that. What I'm saying is based on really good, solid, fundamental, supply and demand, bubbles that I've studied, in other
Mhm.
markets, that this is really useful and important information. And so I'm going to go with my ethical gut here. And I'm just going to
Mhm.
trust that even if it sucks sometimes, and I'm getting negativity and heat, and I'm dealing with the frustration and the irritation,
Yeah.
that it's sort of worth doing through that. I think
Yeah.
that where the future of the channel is, I don't know. I'm not sure we'll do it forever, or we'll keep doing it, or what it'll turn into, or whatever. I'm more just interested in like relationships, and I like
Yeah.
doing the live chats. I think that when the Pokemon market gets more comfortable and stable again, I don't think I'm not sure I'm going to feel so much of a need to be like, guys, like, here's some warning signs, and I have
Yeah.
no interest in like the I told you so's, like, I know what's going on in the world, and now you guys should like listen to me, and now I'm just gonna like change my whole thing and like do consulting and give you guys like a bunch of like, and
Mhm.
I did talk to James, or about doing, we were gonna do monthly videos together for a while, and get more,
Oh,
and do some other before he got busy,
right.
with the craziness of having a kid and his job, which he's now left, and then created Gem,
Yeah.
and the 2 YouTube channels he does. I have no idea how he does all of it,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I looked into like doing like very like maybe like slight consulting, like, and by consulting we would do like maybe like a live stream where people could, where I'd be more direct, even more direct than I already am,
Mhm.
specifically about stuff. And we would charge like with him and me maybe, and I would charge like, $1.99 or $2, very, very little
Mhm.
money to do it, or something
Mhm.
like that, just as a way to get some return for the time, and have people who are really interested in it and
Yeah.
want to be there. Because I think there's the thing too of like, when you charge a little bit, it 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 attracts people who really want to be there and engage and get the most of it, rather
Yeah.
than just kind of flow in and out and yell a random annoying question and then leave, that sort of thing.
Right.
So it's also like, how do you create something that that is sustainable, really enjoyable for everyone, and a win-win.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't be surprised if we stopped doing the channel at some point, and I would, maybe we'll find what we're going to do next, or what we're going to keep doing, or I'll get more into other things. And,
Mhm.
I always liked, I liked Rudy's channel a lot from Alpha Investments,
Yeah.
and the Tolarian Community College channel.
Mhm.
Like those two
I
channels,
just watch his box breaks of like, can I buy another one? I like that series he does.
like those two channels were like combined to what I think is great. It's like you have like really good,
Yeah.
like useful information. And I kind of feel like Jake has the best channel right now.
Mhm.
Um, you know, Basically he goes on to Pokey Beach, and he like, with,
Yeah.
basically says what Pokey Beach has said, outlines it in a very digestible way.
Mhm.
With good, it's a great service because it's very accurate,
Yeah.
and I can feel his genuine love of the hobby when I watch his videos. I think, I don't know
Mhm.
who really knows, but
Right.
that's the way it feels to me, like
Yeah. Yeah.
that he loves the Japanese, and it's fun watching him collect, and he has a nice personality, and I like his channel a lot. And so I feel like he does that stuff well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure who like the Rudy or like what Rudy like what Rudy does. Pokemon doesn't really have a channel with a Rudy, with someone who like is kind of like a little bit of like a nut who just like rambles around his many boxes, like bumping into stuff, like sometimes spouting just like nonsense that I like disagree with, and then other times like completely agree, and it's just like enjoyable, fun content. And so I think that it's interesting that we don't have someone who's knowledgeable be in that space, who's like really funny. I mean, maybe like James will go into to doing more of that sort of stuff from ZC. I don't know. Or if you have some people that you think fill that, or if you want to fill it.
I mean, see, the thing is, you have to check off all these boxes to be that person.
Yeah.
And the sheer inventory and knowledge that he has is around in Pokemon.
Yeah.
But also not recreatable. So the people that do have it need to have the personality, and I don't think any of them do. Charlie, I mean, he's focused on Mudkins. He doesn't care to be in front of a camera. So, no. S. Pratt, he has his own thing going on. He talks about wanting to be like, do what Rudy does, but he found that it doesn't make sense on a business end, like box-wise and Patreon, the way that Rudy does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it might make sense now with Pokemon, the way it is modern, but I don't think Scott has the desire anymore to be in front of a camera like that publicly.
Yeah.
He's got his niche, and I think he enjoys what he does. He doesn't want to. He's dealt with some of the unfortunate woes of being a public figure, and that has scared him away. PokeRev isn't weird enough. Nick, he checks all of the boxes. I talked to him about that. Like, he fits everything perfectly. He just wouldn't be weird enough to make that a thing. Myself, I don't have the inventory to do it. James, I don't think he has the inventory to do it.
Yeah. I suppose part of what it is the inventory. It's just like walking. It's showing all of those like endless bricks of like alpha cards, and and like walking in and around his like warehouse. Like, there's some magic in just being around all that product, while this like crazy person who like his hair is all over the place is just like
well, it's great that
economics. It's just like
he'll go on like one video of how to teach you how to use credit cards properly to buy a bunch of stuff. Versus, but that's one thing. He's extremely transparent about what he has. He does all of his buys basically on video. He walks around with his crazy storage of sealed boxes. I mean, I know people with that many sealed WotC boxes that don't tell anybody about it, don't show anybody, because they have this fear that the market will take a dip or something, or their personal safety, of course, where if they have that in their house or whatever, and someone finds out that where they live, they'll try to come get it. So, I mean, it would have to be, I think the closest person we have is Scott.
Yeah.
And he's been scared out of that role, I think.
It's a lot of videos. Rudy does,
and it's a lot
a day. I think Scott does like one a week publicly.
One a week every 2 weeks, I think, at this point.
Oh, every 2 weeks.
And because he's doing his Patreon twice a month. But I mean, it would be him. I think that would be it. It would have to be him.
Yeah.
But that public face is a scary thing to take on.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, I get that. I think that.
Why don't you do it?
Well, I think if you had told me that I would have been on YouTube 7 months ago, I would have been like, I'm the dude who like my friends like twisted my arm to get a Facebook when I was in high school because I was like, this is
Oh.
stupid, and I don't want to I don't want people to know where I am and
Yeah.
like what I'm doing. I'm a very unless I know people intimately, I tend to be very private. And then I'm a very open book when I know you intimately, but yeah, so I think I would have been surprised. I mean, I think when I started doing this, I was like, first of all, am I funny or could I be funny? That's another thing too. I haven't really been funny on the channel. I've been very serious and working on teaching skills and being intense and these sorts of things. And it's that would be a whole new side of the channel to go into, is doing things that are just funny and ridiculous and nonsense. Yeah. And I guess I just want to be exactly myself and do exactly what it is that felt natural within this time period and space. And this is what felt natural. I felt like there's a serious problem. I wanted to address the serious problem, and maybe that was I didn't feel like I could, necessarily do that much, but I felt some responsibility to talk about what I perceived as some mania and some people really buying on credit and over leveraging themselves and this get rich on being pokey rich and get rich quick. And I just I think I just have such a passion for that, protecting people from that, whether that's, and for some people that's going to be an arrogance. They're going to view that as arrogant, and I get that to some extent. For some people, they're going to view it as irritating, in a more libertarian way, and I get those arguments too. And I respect, honestly, I respect that. And you can't be every, if you're, you can't be anything if you and you can't do anything, I think, that actually has value or adds something if you're not if you're not going to ruffle some feathers, you're not going to disagree with some people, or you're not going to it wouldn't have been necessary if the prevailing market sentiment was my sentiment for me to say those things. And I think that why my channel grew was because I was saying things that other people weren't saying. But I also think that at least some people, saw the knowledge mixed with the fact that I wasn't focused on my own growth and being a business, and I was focused on providing value to people and trying to make substantive deep dive videos. But it's this weird thing where it's what seems to be the most popular or do the best are not deep dives. And I think that this depresses me, to be honest, because it's just not the way that I am. It's not what I look for. I look for deep dives, but it seems like the average person wants to look up what card should I buy, as you talked about earlier, and have a person with 100,000 subscribers tell them what card to buy. And then they go out and buy it. And it's that's not, I have no interest in making those videos outside of sure, it'd be getting a bunch of money for doing basically nothing and just going on there and saying, buy these 5 things, seems appealing on some level. But it's not, it would feel very soul crushing, I think, for me to make that type of content and feel like I was making that. I was just searching for views. And so
I got burnt out in 3 days doing that, trying to open modern packs. And I'm not going to do that. It's Joe Rogan is this weird enigma in podcasting where he doesn't, I guess podcasting in its own is kind of a weird thing where you're not being flashy and trying to chase the views. You're just out there having real, genuine conversations.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, you buy the shiniest thing on the shelf, you buy the nicest looking thing. Whenever you open a pack, you throw away everything else that's not a hollow. That's just the world we live in.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting is some people will argue like you and I are jealous, or
Yeah.
or there's a we look at those people and first of all we diminish their ability. This
Mhm.
hypothetical person or something, and I shouldn't
Right.
speak for you, but for myself, I diminish their ability, right? I say that that people are just basically the sheep of the algorithm and
Yeah.
and sheep of the clickbait and having money in the title and a number in the title and someone going like Pokemon and then like 5 best cards, and like if I did that,
Yeah.
I would like get way more views, right?
Yeah.
Um, and and that's how the algorithm works. And some people will say, well, you're stupid or you're jealous for not doing that, and it doesn't feel that way inside. And I can only speak for
Mhm.
like the way that it feels to me. It feels more of a like frustration that
Mm.
that is how YouTube is run. That is how it's that that uh yeah that it's but again I get it too because of just the way that
Mhm.
human beings work. It's like we're very
Right.
quick hit, and to get someone to click on just like a random dude's face like who they've never seen before, they've never listened to, they've never gone into that deep dive with me. I think I have a very very high
Mhm.
retention rate because when people
Mm.
actually, first of all, people who click on my videos tend not to be searching for clickbait, one.
Mhm.
Two, so they're looking for that deep dive and they find the deep dive and then they stay
Mhm.
and they watch more and
Yeah.
they come back. And
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the exact same for you. It's like you have these Pokemon radar things. People who are
Yeah.
coming there, come because they see it's 3 hours. They want those long podcasts, and now you're going to be one of their
Yeah.
favorites. But it's how
Right.
the algorithm it's just unlikely to pick it up. And that's going to be something that other than these big guys shouting you out, like if
Mhm.
PCA Gaming or like one of these guys like shouts you out on their channel and says like
Mhm.
all their subscribers, you should go subscribe to
Yeah.
Pokemon Raider, he's awesome. Like that would help massively and could change things. But otherwise,
Yeah.
it's I think you have to get into the mindset of like, do you want this or do you want that? And if you want this is what it's likely going to be. And
Yeah.
if you want that, then these are the things that you're going to have to do to get that. And like, that's okay.
Mhm.
And I don't know and we'll
Well,
see.
I've been told by everybody at this point that my podcast episodes on YouTube need to give more information so they know what they're clicking on. But I am in love with the consistent, easy Pokemon Cards and Coffee logo on every single one.
Yeah.
I finally changed the title where I put the guest in the front so they can see who it is. That makes sense. But people want me to make a thumbnail with who the guest is and what the episode's about. But to me, I don't want to switch that. I want to keep the podcast itself the way it is.
Yeah.
And if people find it, they find it. I'm going all, I'm changing up the thumbnails and stuff for the little highlights I do or the little other non-podcast videos I do. And to be honest, I'm still getting more views on my actual podcast than those things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It is an interesting thing. I mean, I would love to have the podcast become like the main source of income for me. I would love to branch out outside of Pokemon, do a real podcast on anything and everything, whether it moves from Pokemon to other collectibles and then from there to artwork, then to wherever it goes. That's the dream. Like right now, that would be the dream. And I don't think the algorithm will help me out because my videos are minimum an hour to, well, we're at 2.5 now, me and you. So no matter what I do with that thumbnail, no matter what I do with my keywords, I doubt YouTube is going to be pushing out a 2.5 hour video to its viewers because it's just not good for them.
Yeah. It's like the click-through rate or the percentage of your video watched like all matters. Like the live videos I'm doing really hurt the channel from the research I've done. Because live videos, they for whatever reason they don't like, and it has the same thing to do with these really long videos. Like the videos that really helped my channel and where I saw really fast growth was when I was doing like 15-minute top 5 videos, which I did a few of. Mm-hmm. And those videos, like my channel grew a lot in those days and I got a lot of subs, but I didn't like those videos. I thought anyone could do those videos. You know, my feeling was literally like, James, Z&G Emporium James is already doing these videos. He's doing them better. He has like better quality. He knows just as much as me about it. And it, you know, and it was just like, I have no interest, like, and I don't really just want to build my channel for the sake of like building my channel and then being like, cool, I built it, you know? So I went to these like 40-minute, 50-minute discussions on these topics, and it hurt that growth because the way that the YouTube algorithm works is if people watch like over 50% of your video consistently, that's like really huge. But if they're watching, like I would have like an average of like 25 minutes watched per person or 30 minutes watched per person, which is a huge amount, right? That
massive, yeah.
Massive amount. But the video might be 3 hours, the live. And so on a percentage basis, it's super low. Whereas if you made a 5-minute video and you got 3 minutes on it, you'd be at a much higher percentage. And so,
yeah, my retention rate's like 17%, 20%.
Yeah. So these are the types of things. So I do think that I think if you made your titles more like mine, that were not clickbaity, but you did say like, these are the topics we talked about. Like for this video, I'm going to just say like a couple of the topics that I think are most interesting, because I do think that will get people to click on it who are interested in those specific topics. And it would get someone like me, if I came out to your page and I saw like a ton of 3-hour videos, it's like, which one do I want to choose? Well, I might go to the person I want to listen to, of course, if they're all interviews, but it also might be like, here's a topic that I'm really interested to I've watched 6 Gary interviews. I'm not really interested in watching another one, but in this interview, Gary talked about this. And that to me is like totally not clickbait and actually super helpful, because you're giving someone, you're telling someone that here's actually something you maybe haven't heard before that might be useful for you. And so it creates that win-win of like, now they're coming onto your channel, they're engaging in your content, but they're also hearing something they haven't heard somewhere else and they didn't have to go through stuff.
My conversation with Gary is incredible, completely different than any other one you've seen. Yeah. And it's gotten like no views compared to some of these other ones. But yeah, it's made sense. I mean, Randolph UK, he shouted me out when we did our podcast. So like that one got a lot of views. TCA came out on Monday, and just because I have TCA in there, a lot more people are listening to it. Yeah. And I guarantee that's going to be the same case for Gem Mint and PokeRev. So yeah, I guess I should probably do that at this point. Add in some sort of topic points, maybe even like I like the way the thumbnail is. I know I should add it in the thumbnail, but I'm really biased to how it looks right now. But yeah,
I think Joe Rogan has the luxury because he has the audience and already has the algorithm. So he cannot do any of those things because everyone knows what it is.
Right.
So, you know, so it's that type of thing. But I mean, I'm with you. Like when I like something and I like the way it is, it's frustrating that other people don't. It's not that they don't like it, but it's that it doesn't trick that thing in their brain to say click when there's a lot of other options. It doesn't catch the eye. And the reality is, like, we're talking about reflexive human behavior. They go onto YouTube, they have a bunch of suggested videos come up, and is yours the one that's going to like catch their eye first and going to have them click on it? Or is the one with like Leonhardt, you know, making a face and then like, I lost $200,000 with a Charizard. Like, is that going to be the one that's going to like, you know, get their eye? And that's how these guys, you know, that's how Logan Paul is Logan Paul. Like, that's how these guys do it.
It works. Yeah, it all works. It's clear as day. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'm still figuring this whole thing out. I've only been doing this for what, like 2 months?
Yeah.
So, having fun with it, trying not to burn myself out. But, yeah, hopefully you're enjoying it too. I'm in the same boat though. Like, who knows when this could end tomorrow. I could get another job that pays a lot of money that I really want to do and just leave. But I know I'm going to see this Pokemon thing out for a little bit longer at the very least, because it's obviously doing so well for anybody that bought Pokemon cards. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird world that I'm not used to, but being able to collaborate with like yourself and many others has been made it a lot more enjoyable. Because like you said, once you start doing stuff like this, people come out of the woodwork and start making assumptions of your intentions. And until you have a conversation and sit down with them, you don't know,
Yeah.
So it's nice to have this outlet, have this platform to talk with people and really get to know them.
Yeah. And I, for me, just personally, like I've had some of these guys on the channel. I'm going to have some more of them on in the future. And it's great. Like I make assumptions that are probably wrong about them, and being able to watch your interview or hear them speak for a long time, it might make me have a more positive opinion of them because I've heard them say something that I didn't hear them say before, or I had a negative snapshot because I talked to them or engaged with them on a bad day that they had, or I was one of like, many DMs that they got, and they just like happened to be, kind of a jerk to me, and I always keep that stuff in mind of like, obviously if any of these guys doesn't get back to me or doesn't read a DM or a message or something that I sent, Occam's razor would say it's just that they, the most likely scenario is just that they get a ton of them and they're annoying and they're endless and I get that. So I think it's you do have to be careful with making negative, assumptions about people when you're not really sure. Yeah. So anything else we want to sort of wrap up with here? Anything else on your mind?
I mean, we didn't even attack Shining Fates or anything like that. I don't really care so much to talk about it. But
should we talk a little bit more about Pokemon or anything specific you want to ask me, or that if there's anything I want to ask you?
I mean, no, I think that was great. I mean, we could dive into what you're collecting and all that, but I think everyone gets enough of that. So I'm more than happy to pump out what we just did, and I think that was a really great conversation.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot too.
I mean, we can end it off with I guess I always ask, like, what's your current collection goal? What's one thing you're chasing?
So I'm chasing different things for everything. So I'll go through them quickly for the different things I'm in. Okay, so Middle Earth. If you have these items, contact me. I'm looking for an Against the Shadows booster box.
Okay.
I'm going to name some specific things. No, so there are some booster boxes in Middle Earth that are very rare, that are very difficult to find, particularly in the limited version. And that's probably the hardest one. They're second hardest to find. The last one, Balrog's the hardest. Mm-hmm. Middle Earth is a great thing. I would look into it if you're interested.
Are there foils?
Rings at all? No foils. No
okay, foils. Then I have opened some of that. Okay.
It's basically Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Except it's the same beautiful art. It's the same quality of gameplay. I think it's arguably a better or as good of a game as Magic. It's a phenomenal game. It would have been a huge hit for a long time if they hadn't lost the license, in my opinion. I think Middle Earth is going to be a historic collectible and set. It's always going to have a fairly niche following, but whatever. But yeah, so I'm looking to fill in some booster box gaps there. Against the Shadows and Balrog. For Dragon Ball Z, I am looking to basically buy your collection from you. I'm trying to reach out. I actually reached out to Rhymestyle about it too, just to ask, because I know he's into like DBZ, although he told me he's not into any of this. Rhymestyle's a great dude, by the way. If you haven't talked to him, really.
I had him on the podcast.
Yeah. Oh, you had him on. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He's someone that does an amazing job of like the DBZ content that he does, and like being able
Oh
to
my
like,
God.
do it and actually enjoy it. Like it's
Well,
amazing.
it's funny. The way that I found him was through one of his other YouTube buddies who opened one of these boxes, the Cell Saga.
Yeah.
And I brought it up to him, asked him about it, and he's like, yeah, I forget his buddy's name, but he's like, yeah, he regrets it. Can't find another one. I mean, they're like $3,000 now, so it's hard to justify that.
Yes, they're very hard to come by. So I'm working on. I'm gonna try to get one of every box. I don't even care if I get them in limited. Honestly, unlimited's fine too. I just kind of like the art and having the sealed. I got the Saiyans, which is probably the easiest one to get.
Did you buy out the recent listing that had like 7 available?
Was there a listing for boxes?
Yeah, Saiyan Saga. There was a listing. A guy posted 7, and I was going to buy them out, but they were gone by the time I made that decision.
Limited or unlimited.
Limited. Unlimited's harder to find in Saiyan Saga.
Unlimited's harder.
Yeah. In my experience for Saiyan Saga, I have a tougher time finding unlimited.
Ooh, interesting. So I may have made a mistake. I paid more for my limited box than I would have for the unlimited.
I mean, it's still, I think, the safe way to go about it, but
Yeah.
it's
But
also the worst set.
Yeah.
Like they started with, I mean, I showed it earlier, but like this was their ultra rare and their foil.
Yeah.
Super bland. And then as soon as they stopped, they went into like this type of thing, and it's just sparkly and cool and awesome. So
Yeah.
but it is the first, so you have to get it.
Even though it's the original in the first. And also there seems to be a lot of it out there and a lot of packs.
Yeah.
I see tons of packs.
Tons.
Not a lot of
Tons.
boxes, but tons of packs. I don't know if that's been your experience, but
Tons of both.
Tons of
The boxes have slowed down for sure.
Oh,
The
okay.
boxes before you got in 2 weeks ago, yeah, always.
I
always available.
probably overpaid, but it's all right. I think I bought mine for $280.
What'd you pay? No, that's fine.
It's fine.
I mean,
it seemed close to what other people were paying, and I just wanted to
Yeah.
get out of the way. And I'm pretty new to it, so I just wanted to make sure that
yeah,
it didn't feel like I was way overpaying, and I didn't know how many more were going to come on. And I have been watching for a few weeks, so
yeah. I think it'll stay steady at the 250, 300 mark for a while.
yeah, okay. Then I bought, I got the GT ones, which are easier to find.
See, I don't have any of those.
Yeah, those were easier to pick up. Not in limited though. I got them in regular, but
The Super 17 box,
yeah.
I had an opportunity to buy like 30 of them for $20 a piece, limited edition,
Yeah.
and I said no. There's I don't know how
common.
much you. Yeah, well, and Dragon Ball GT is just like a negative thing in Dragon Ball Z world. I don't know how well aware you are of that, but it was a whole different
I'm not.
like. So when Dragon Ball GT came out, like the anime, it was a different. Like I think, shoot, I should know this, but I think it was a different creator basically, or a different world.
Yeah.
So it was separated from Dragon Ball Z. So there's a lot of it's a niche, basically a niche section of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
But it's very cool cards. I have a couple of them here too, but I don't have the boxes.
I liked the cards that were inside. I thought they were cool, and
Yeah, I
you know,
mean, same.
again, I sort of
Unless-
just, you know, this is something that I'm doing. Probably I'm making the mistake that I tell new people in Pokemon not to do, which is probably buy too quick on things. But I'm doing it. I'm doing it with the understanding that and this is the same thing I tell people on my channel. It's like, if you want them and you're okay with them going into have, or you're okay that you might be paying like an overpriced moment and in a week more might come on because you don't know the market that well, go for it. And that's what I sort of been doing, I think, with Dragon Ball Z, which is where I think I bought the unlimited for 80 of that, which seemed
great
lower.
buy.
I mean, it was a lot lower than everything. Like people were trying to get 300 for it. And
Yeah.
I looked at some of the sold listings and some of the history, and I was like, 80 seems good for that, reasonable for this right now. And then I
Yeah.
bought the baby for 180, which felt like a very good deal.
Okay. Yeah.
That actually felt a lot lower than what I was seeing. That one seemed to be hard to find, relatively compared to the other one. But
The Super Android 17 has always been really abundant.
yeah,
I mean, I think they're harder to find now, but yeah, the other GT ones have always been a little bit more elusive. So yeah.
and then Shadow seemed to be even a little harder to find.
Yeah.
And that one I got for $250, so I felt
Nice.
decent about that. Like just locking it in, it's okay. And then I got, I think there were 2 still left at that price, and then people were asking like $1,000 for it. Yeah. From one seller. One seller was selling 3, and I negotiated him down to like $250 from his I think he had like a $350 asking price. And then I got and then the 4th one I've been unable to find at a reasonable price. I don't even remember what it's called. That one seemed to be the most expensive.
Omega, the Omega Shenron one, maybe. I don't know what the sets are called. Oh no,
I'm not sure.
yeah, I know with little Goku on it. What is that one called? Something series. It's okay. Yeah, I know. Okay. Yeah.
I made the mistake. I bought one of like the Ginyu Blast boxes because I didn't know what that was.
Oh,
I got
cool art still, right?
Yeah, and I'm not going to open it exactly, and it has cool art,
Right.
and I bought it for cheap.
Yeah.
So I thought I got a great deal, and then I realized that I just am a noob and didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those who are interested, basically these Ginyu boxes, they have
Sensu Blast,
them, and they only have, Sensu Blast boxes.
Yeah.
They have 3 cards in each box, but you can't get any ultra rares. It's only commons and uncommons, and then a promo card in each one.
Yeah.
Do you know the history of that? What was going on there?
I think it was just purely a promotional thing for the next set coming out.
Huh.
So
60 promo, the same card over and over again.
Yeah. Well, it's funny in some I stupidly opened one of these boxes recently thinking I could make a cool YouTube video from this, and I just didn't do a good job of entertaining it. But you can pull promo cards out of regular packs, and I don't know the history behind that.
Yeah.
So
I've seen that in some openings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still trying to learn about it because I did not find good information on it online. So there are a lot of areas like this right now where you have tons of people talking about Pokemon, educating on Pokemon, but you don't have tons of people educating on these sort of things. So if the public gets more educated on them, I assume that these things would become a lot.
There are old forums. That's where I found a lot of my information, but those forums died.
Yeah.
So they didn't continue to E4. So, the fact that I figured out 1 in 10 boxes as an ultra rare was just based off the fact of how many packs I've opened, plus what I found on those old forums. I just tied them together and picked that number, and it's right from what I've seen. So, good luck on the Dragon Ball Z. I'm buying as many as I can. I have buy prices that I just buy them up at. I only have this many.
Yeah.
Which is probably more than most people, but I'm still hoping to one day find that treasure trove of cases. I've never seen a case of any of these. So,
well, if you ever find them, and we can talk about this more off camera too, I'd be happy to buy some at higher than you paid, and or potentially, and or maybe do a trade for something you're looking for in any of these worlds. So,
absolutely, I will keep you in mind.
Looking for these things because I really, it's interestingly how hard it's been, because usually a month into it, because I search because I have a ton of people I contact, I just have not been able to find any at all. Whereas Pokemon I can find a lot of. So it's interesting that how hard it is to find these boxes. It surprises me, and it makes me think that oh boy, these might be really significantly rare. But there's also has been the price point, so maybe it hasn't driven out some of the
right. That's the conversation. But I'll tell you, every time, I built my Pokemon stuff off of old stores, basically. Every time I always ask about Dragon Ball Z. Yeah. No stores have them in stock, back stock. Yeah. None of them. So to me, I mean, and seeing the prices come up to this point and still not seeing stuff being driven out.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards that idea of they're very, very scarce.
Yeah. I think so too. So I'm doing those things. Still collecting Harry Potter a little bit. I'm mostly done with Harry Potter. I got all of the boxes fast.
Mm-hmm.
I got all of the decks because I think the sealed decks have really cool, like the 10 sealed decks have like really cool art on the boxes. So I got those too. And then I got, and then I created binder. I always create binder sets. That's my first thing is always binder sets before sealed product even. And then,
did you open to get those?
I opened just the cheaper boxes. I didn't know I am going to open a base. I have it. I bought like 4 from a guy and 1 opened on its way here. So I was like, cool. Awesome.
I opened up a blister case of base, but I did a box of each of Quidditch, Adventures at Hogwarts, and Diagon Alley. I still don't have. I have some packs of Chamber, but I just can't. I won't buy a box. I just don't. Yeah. I don't care enough to have the full collection. I'm gonna actually work on selling some of the Harry Potter now because Adventures at Hogwarts is like a $300 box now.
Yeah, it's moved up a lot.
So I'm looking to get some of that money out of Harry Potter because I think I have 9 of each. Except base set, I have 2.
Yeah, it's sensible, I think. And then I'm doing in Pokemon. I'm going after. I'm always looking for deals basically on anything. To be honest, like I feel so like comfortable enough with my Pokemon knowledge that like anything I could bin, like anything I could buy, pretty much if I feel like it's right at the right moment at the right price. And so I'm actually starting to look more again as prices come down because I think it's actually maybe worth the effort and time now. Whereas I looked for months for a while and never bought a single thing, and it's just like this is way too much time and effort without like getting anything. But my main focuses are trophy cards. My primary focus are the Pikachu, the original Pikachu trophies, and then the full art Pikachu trophies are my chase cards, and then the snap cards. So those are my 3 things. I'm actually not interested in anything else too much in trophy land. And then and then your lesser trophies, depending on our definition of trophies, always buying Art Academy. Always buying Stamped Worlds promos. I think those are awesome.
Yeah. So you got $100,000 ready to go if one of those 97 Pikas pops up?
Yeah. So I have made some offers to people, and I was hoping that one was going to come to the market because I know someone. I'm not going to say that who basically auctioned off his entire collection and had one, and I was hoping that one would come out too. But
I had him on my podcast. We talked about that.
Oh, okay.
Well, he had he said it publicly. He had the 10 no rarities art, and he had the Pika trophy. And he told himself he was going to keep one, and whichever one sold first, he would keep the other.
Yeah. He sold the 10 to, well, I don't know. I don't really know if people want me saying things, so
we don't have to say that,
Yeah. But it's, yes. So so I'm on the lookout for those things, and those are the types of things that I would be willing to make big.
Wow.
Otherwise,
that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're worth it.
100%.
I feel comfortable with those cards.
Those are better than the Illustrator, in my opinion.
At all. I would never buy the Pikachu Illustrator for 400,000 or 500,000, whatever it is. It's not as good of a card as those other cards, and those cards are going for much cheaper. So.
Yep.
And I'm concerned about extra copies. I'm concerned about extra copies of everything. I think that I find it weird how unconcerned people are about extra copies. Makes me distrustful. To be completely honest.
We're not at that point yet because, obviously we know, and that's loosely know that there were 39 copies of the Illustrator. But we still haven't seen 39 available. So the extra copies are helping that 39 become a real thing.
Yeah.
So I doubt we'll ever get above that 39 number. So
But based on what? Yeah, see, I'm just not there. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
I just like someone could have 25 of them. Like Pocono could have hundreds. Like we
That's,
don't
yeah,
we don't really know.
yeah, that's true.
And it's strange that people are willing to pay 400, 500, $1 million for something like that. To me, like I would need him to stop listing for years. To
Well,
feel
that's a piece of information that
Yeah.
that like we talked earlier that is being withheld from the outside community.
Yeah.
People don't know that. The people who are offering to buy those don't know that there are extra copies.
yeah.
That's not being talked about.
If you're buying a trophy card and you don't know who Pocono is, like if that name doesn't like
Right.
ring bells to you, like and it's not your fault probably because like how you like it's hard how are you going to get that information, but like yeah, it's all of those cards, you know, the snap cards, like all of these things I'm very carefully watching how much he's raising his prices, how quickly they're selling here.
Did those recent snaps sell? Because I'm looking for snaps myself. I don't have the money for it, but maybe eventually.
What were they,
Did
like
those
60,000 or something they were
60,
asking for?
yeah, Gyarados and Squirtle.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Yeah, I'm a little bit.
I don't think they sold.
Yeah, I'm tempted, but it's a
The
lot of money.
Gyarados was tempting.
Yeah, it's a lot of money because
It was well centered.
yeah, it's just like if I knew that there weren't like a bunch of extra copies, like if I knew that there were like 20 to 30 in the world, then I would go. I would do it.
At 60?
I think so. I think I'd feel comfortable around those prices. I wouldn't. I would probably try to find one cheaper for a while, particularly because I don't, you know. But I don't think that that's at all the ridiculous price. I mean, would I much rather have two of those cards or the Lugia 10 PSA 10 first edition? I mean, like, this is what we're talking about, you know, or or a PSA 10 Charizard first edition base. It's like,
You know, I'm thinking, I've been speculating if the new Pokemon Snap coming out
yeah,
will drive out more of those cards to be sold. But what will happen to the price? If
Yeah.
too many are available,
that'd be
will
phenomenal.
they? Yeah. I mean,
Please all come out and drop down.
you know, and by drop from 60 to like 30, which is what people have paid in the somewhat recent past for Snap cards.
I had two options to buy them at around 10 to 20, and
Which ones?
So the Poliwag came out, and I think it actually ended up going for like 10-ish in a PSA 8. And then the Chansey went to the Chansey Lover.
Wow.
Yeah. And that one went before I could even make an offer on it. And then an Articuno recently sold.
Oh my God, I missed out on that one.
Yeah, and that one I thought I reached out to the guy and he's like, I'm literally in the process of selling it right now to this guy, and I'm like, all right, ouch. And then
Wait, was that a graded one?
yes, PSA 8.
Oh, did you see the one that sold on Yahoo Japan for 6,000?
6,000, really?
So there was one on Yahoo Japan. I tried to get Bai to give me a higher max bid, and they kept declining me for some reason. I don't know why. And yeah, there was a Snap Articuno. It looked like it had a real nice, it wasn't like a crease, but like a line through it.
Yeah.
And I believe it sold to, I don't know if this is public information. Probably shouldn't. I won't say it.
Yeah,
It's sold to somebody. Yeah, for
Part
just
of why
under
people talk to us is we don't share.
I mean, if you've made it to this 3-hour mark in this podcast,
You get rewarded with some insider information.
yeah, it sold for just under 7,000, or I think 6,500 or something like that. I was so mad because even if it was damaged, I would have paid 15 for it.
Yeah.
Like it's an awesome card. There's not that many of them, like you said. So I don't know. The Snap cards are interesting. Those are an interesting set.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of the art competition cards.
Okay. I've got
in
none of
general.
those.
And again, these are cards that I love non-hollow. And there's something about it that I actually like that it's non-hollow. It's just like, I don't know. It almost draws me more into the art and less just like the shine. I don't know exactly how to describe it for me.
Like the Lucky Stadium.
Love
I
Lucky
like the
Stadium.
I don't own any Tropical Winds anymore, but I like Tropical Wind because of the, I guess, the history of its distribution and how they like recreate it every year. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm a
I
big
know you love that.
I'm just a big fan of the promos, the world's promos
Mhm.
every year, and so naturally I'm going to want that in the 2001. But
Good luck.
I should have bought the 2001. I could have. So,
Really?
Yeah, I could have bought the PSA 8 for about 34,000, something like that, and it just felt there's no price data. It's just like whatever someone's willing to pay. There's like none of that card in the world. I've never even seen the Tropical Breeze. Like I've never even seen the English one.
Wow.
Have you seen it before? Do you know anyone who owns it?
No,
Yeah,
never looked for it.
I think there are 2 of them in the world. The distribution I think was there were 12 total or 14 total, and 8 were Japanese. Like there's only 1 French, 1 Italian, 1. Yeah, it's like they're different languages, and that's why they're so incredibly rare. Also, they broke
It's
down.
like the English versus series set.
Yeah, so those I'm looking for. I like the Tropical Wind. It's not as rare. They're about 180 were said to be distributed. I think it's considerably rarer than the Unicarp.
Unicarp was said to be 1,000.
Yeah,
There's only 50 in the pop.
but there's more than 50. I think no, I don't know. I thought it was
Probably just. Is it up there? Wow.
I thought something like that. Maybe 70, 80. If there's 70, 80 in the pop, I could see there being 1,000 distributed.
Yeah.
It's possible. I mean, maybe it's a little unlikely, but it's possible. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see how these things get filled out over time if they do. Although I do not see raw versions of that too often. I
Not
see them
anymore.
I see them about the same as the Tropical Wind, I would say, in terms of like how many cards I see. So
No, I remember when the last Mint one popped up, and I had a conversation with somebody. He's like, "Yeah, this is going to be the last one we see. We're not going to see any more Mint raw ones pop up like this."
It's interesting. I think the Lucky Stadium's a bit better than those cards too. Like I don't own the
That
Lucky
one-
Stadium, but I think it's
One of those popped up.
Yeah, I saw in the Heritage, right?
No, Pokino had one up on
Really?
Yahoo Japan. I was ready to go. So many people were ready to go to get it, but it sold within like 20 minutes, probably to a local Japanese buyer, $22,000.
Yeah.
So that's the other problem is even though there's still an edge to get these trophies from Japan, because it's like who's willing to take that risk to spend that much money and hopefully get it.
Terrifying.
It's a lot more people are more aware now, and Japanese buyers are much more aware now.
Yeah.
So it's almost to the point where they won't be available like that anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Well,
good luck on all those goals. Those are some hefty goals.
see how they go. Yeah, I'd like to complete the snap cards, and I have none of them. So good luck, Jake.
Well,
Probably
Pikachu
won't
and
give
Magikarp.
$10 million to eventually, to actually
Yeah.
call them eventually.
Well,
Which
we've
one
never
that-
seen the Pikachu or the Magikarp, so
That never come.
good luck on that one. You'll have to buy an extra copy, basically, I think, if you want to get those.
I'll contact Pocono and say I have $10 million. Like I want one of each extra copy.
People have done that for snap cards, and he doesn't respond. So keep on trying. You have to offer him those, like some creepy vintage doll. Maybe he'll budge. That's all his Instagram's riddled with.
I just sent a big PSA submission out. So that's my latest thing in the Pokemon world with about 130 cards or so. So pretty
All
sized.
economy.
Yeah. Mostly, and then a few others I'm doing express. A few of the more expensive ones, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm waiting on the SB on Play promo in the mail. I'm going to send that with my scroll and a first edition Lugia to Beckett, I think.
Okay, going Beckett.
Yeah, I'm doing really well with Beckett on the trophy cards, and you know, if you're not going to get a 10, you can get a lot more value out of that 9.5. And to be honest, I really value the thing behind why it got what grade.
Mm-hmm.
Plus PSA has just been on some bullshit with their grading lately. You see that PSA 10 scroll that's on PWCC, which will be over by the time this probably gets released. That thing is a PSA 7 at best. So
I didn't even look at it.
it's disgusting. You have to take a look at the back. It's awful.
Yeah.
So I'm sending my trophies there. Even if they would get a 10, like I'd want them there to get a pristine, or you know, just because you get a premium on that end as well. So yeah, PSA scares me these days. So I'm pretty selective with what I'm sending where. I'm using all 3 grading companies. I'm still using PSA, using Beckett, CGC. So it's just I'm very selective with what goes where.
Yep, it goes into the skill that you bring to the table of being like, this is going to be very, very likely a 9.5 and not a 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get the value there.
Yeah.
I bought a 9.5 recently that I think might be a 10.
Of
a Scyther, Jungle Scyther first edition.
Okay.
Got it for about, I think it was like 410, 420. And
nice.
They were going for like 2,000. And I was like, you know what? I think this is probably a 10. And actually, I don't have that card.
Oh.
That was a card that PSA 10, I was looking to fill out the jungle set. So I'm slowly working on those sets. I have holes in almost every set.
I have a Clefable for sale and a Mr. Mime.
I have the Mr. Mime in 10. I don't have the Clefable in 10.
I'll give you a good price.
That one's pretty low. That's one's like 66 pop, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
I'm ready to move it, so let me know.
Yeah. Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah. Well, cool. I think this is a good place to call it.
Sounds good, man.
That was a great conversation, dude.
Enjoy talking to you, and perhaps we'll do another something in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, once you start getting more Dragon Ball Z, we need to figure out that history together because there is no information out there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'd be fun. Maybe if there's interest, maybe we'll do a video or do some videos on it at some point. I mean, I would like to actually bring some awareness and knowledge to that if possible, but I'm really trying to track down just like knowledgeable people right now. So yeah, I'll keep working on it.
I'm working on the awareness aspect, but I want to build up a bigger position before it gets aware.
Yeah, I mean, I own like none of it. Yeah. But I think it's kind of just deserves more awareness and it's fun. And so I don't know, it is what it is. So it's stupid, but it's just how I feel. It's when I really love something and I'm surprised, I just can't keep my mouth shut. I talk about it really fast.
Yeah. I feel you. I'm pretty impatient on that end as well. I don't even have the Espeon in my hand. It's still in Japan. So hopefully it comes. But all right, well, cool. Thank you for your time, man. Really appreciate it. And we'll definitely be talking some more. So
great,
cool.
Thank you, man. Until next time.